Chapter 357. Ever since they parted at the hospital, Li Jingjing had never contacted Yang Qing again. As for whether she had contacted Lin Ruoxi, Yang Qing wouldn't ask. From the bottom of his heart, Yang Qing didn't blame Li Jingjing. She was just an ordinary girl. Humans would always have positive and negative emotions. Not many people were truly evil. From the last time when she was used by Xing Xinlin, although Li Jingjing had her own reasons, a hateful person must have a pitiful side. At that time, Yang Qing was only angry and didn't pursue the matter further. In this aspect, Lin Ruoxi, who was also a woman, must be more open-minded. Thus, she picked up the phone. Li Jingjing seemed to have said something that surprised Lin Ruoxi. It was rare for Lin Ruoxi to reveal a trace of astonishment on her calm face, followed by a slight sadness. "Have you decided?" Lin Ruoxi asked on the phone. After a while she said, "Since it's like this, I'll send you off at the airport tomorrow. He will go too. Don't say anything, I'll be there on time." Seeing that Lin Ruoxi had hung up the phone, Yang Qing frowned and asked, "What happened to Jingjing?" Lin Ruoxi looked at Yang Qing with a complicated expression. She said that the school has a plan to send outstanding young teachers to the U.S. for further studies. She was chosen and she also decided to go. The flight is tomorrow, and the visa has already been applied for a long time. She felt that if she didn't say anything, it would make us feel that she didn't respect us and that she was running away from something. Thus, she called me to tell me. I've decided to send her off at the airport tomorrow morning. You should go too. After all, you're the closest to her. Going to the U.S. for further studies? Yang Qing was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, his heart felt dry. After thinking for a long time, he sighed and asked, "Did she say how long she'll be gone for?" "I think it's 1.5 to 2 years. She's majoring in English at UC San Diego," Lin Ruoxi said lightly. Yang Qing nodded. "I understand. I will go." Seeing that Yang Qing agreed, Lin Ruoxi didn't say anything more. She turned around and went upstairs. Yang Qing stood at the top of the stairs, his eyes filled with mixed emotions, but he was unable to calm down. Although Li Jingjing had stopped contacting him, and he didn't know how to face this girl who used to be like his own sister, they were still in the same city. Now, this young woman was going to the United States to study alone. Although it was a good thing, Yang Qing still felt a faint sense of loss and reluctance in his heart. Even if she wasn't his lover, she could still be considered half a relative. Yang Qing shook his head and stopped thinking about it. At the same time, in a military compound in Zhonghai, the Kai family's mansion was a different story. Although the Kai family used to be a big family in Yanjin, they had gained a lot of influence in Zhonghai due to the fact that the family head, Kai Yunqing, had been working in the Zhonghai region for many years. At the same time, they had a good relationship with both Yanjin and Zhonghai. At this moment, Kai Yunqing, who was wearing a dark green military uniform and a lieutenant general, was standing in front of the door of a simple room. He looked at the young man lying on the bed in the room. The young man was Yang Lai, who was injured by Yang Qing. Luckily, he didn't die, but he was severely injured. Yang Lai's master, Yu Jizi, was still wearing a green robe. However, on the way back, Yang Lai's blood had splashed on his clothes, and he looked a little disheveled. Yu Jizi frowned as he looked at his disciple who was sleeping soundly. His face was pale, but he was at his wits' end. "Taoist Yu Jizi, is Yang Lai really that badly injured? If he can't participate in this battle, it will be a great loss for our camp," Kai Yunqing said solemnly. Yu Jizi shook his head and sighed. Kunlun sect's secret arts focus on offense, not defense. It focuses on dispersing, not healing. I don't have much skill in healing. Lai has been cultivating with me since he was young. If I had a way, I would have used it long ago. However, his internal organs have been injured, and he's bleeding everywhere. His injuries are too severe. How could he have such a terrifying injury? Even in the group of 8, Yang Lai's combat power is only second to Abbess Yun Miao. Kai Yunqing said in confusion. If I didn't use the secret medicine from Kunlun Sek's Heaven Mountain to build his foundation when he was young, as well as the medicinal baths to cleanse his meridians and refine his bones, Lai wouldn't have suffered such a simple injury. Yujizi's face was pale. Even I, an old Taoist, would have ended up like this after being hit by that young man's palm. And he didn't even use his full strength. If he sigh, in the whole of Huaxia, the only people who can match him are those who don't come out of their seclusion. At this moment, a disdainful female voice came from outside the door. Humph, even if those old fellows come out of their seclusion, they won't be Yang Cheng's match. Moreover, do you think that Shu Mountain's endless resolve restoration scripture is that easy to deal with? Dressed in a grayish-purple Taoist robe and a nun's hat, it was Abbess Yun Miao who walked in slowly. Behind her was Kai Ning, who went to welcome her. Endless resolve restoration scripture? Yujizi was shocked. Abbess, you said that the young man is cultivating Shu Mountain's endless resolve restoration scripture? How is that possible? Isn't that divine art only learned by your senior brother Song Tianxing? Is that young man an esoteric disciple of Shu Mountain? Abbess Miao glanced at Yang Lai, who was lying on the bed, with disdain. Yang Cheng is the disciple that my senior brother Song took in when he was overseas. His endless resolve restoration scripture is much stronger than my senior brother Song's. He has long reached level 8 full cycle. You coward, even if my senior brother Song was at level 7, he might not be able to withstand it, let alone Yang Cheng, who is at level 8. Level 8. Yujizi wasn't angry at Abbess Miao's mockery. He only mumbled, the internal force of endless resolve restoration scripture at level 8 can allow someone to reach Xiantian full cycle? What? Xiantian full cycle? Abbess Miao was shocked. You're saying that Yang Cheng has reached Xiantian full cycle? Yujizi was stunned. Abbess, you don't know? When I saw him make his move this morning, I immediately concluded that he has reached Xiantian full cycle. If he were to take another step forward, he would be a legendary figure. Abbess Yun Miao pondered for a moment before replying seriously. Even though endless resolve restoration scripture at level 8 can allow one to enter Xiantian full cycle, it has to be level 9 in order for one to reach Xiantian full cycle. Moreover, it has to be at the peak of level 9. This time, Yujizi was completely dumbfounded. Wasn't it said that the creator of endless resolve restoration scripture, that senior from Shu Mountain, had only reached that level? That's right. Since then, almost no one has reached level 8. Abbess Yun Miao revealed a proud smile. It seems like our Shu Mountain has gained another supreme expert. Yujizi pondered for a moment before asking in confusion, but even if he has reached Xiantian full cycle, how can you say that those experts who don't leave the mountain are no match for Yang Cheng, Abbess Yun Miao? Abbess Yun Miao looked at Yujizi as if she was looking at an idiot. Before you leave the mountain, don't you know that the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade has provided you with the current strength distribution in the country? What do you mean? Yujizi indeed didn't pay much attention to it. Abbess Miao said impatiently, don't you know that Yang Cheng is the inheritor of Pluto's ring? What? Yujizi felt that his brain wasn't working properly anymore. He couldn't care less about his posture as a Xiantian full cycle anymore. Beads of cold sweat formed on his forehead. You're saying that he has comprehended God's power? According to the intelligence, that was the first time in history that he killed a god. At the same time, he obtained a god's position and inherited God's power. In other words, he is the first human in history to kill a god and become a god. If he only used martial arts, those old fogies who don't leave the mountain might be able to fight him to a draw. But in terms of real strength, unless those old fogies break through the legendary limit, they won't be his match, Abbess Miao said. Kai Yunqing, who was listening to Abbas Miao and Yu Jizi talk about Yang Cheng's strength, couldn't understand most of it. After all, even though he was a core member of the military, he wasn't a cultivator. Thus, Kai Yunqing could only ask his eldest daughter, Kai Ning, who was standing beside him, Ning, is that Yang Qing really that invincible? Even when facing her father, Kai Ning's expression was still indifferent. She nodded and said, if it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't do anything to him, I believe that in this world, almost every powerful organization would want him dead, including our general. Why? I heard that after he returned to Huaxia, he didn't provoke anyone. Kai Yunqing was puzzled. Because he has something that too many people want. A trace of melancholy flashed through Kai Ning's eyes. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around and left, unwilling to stay any longer. Kai Yunqing looked at his eldest daughter's cold back and sighed softly. His eyes were filled with tenderness. Chapter 358. The next morning, Yang Cheng arrived at Zhonghai International Airport in Lin Ruoxi's car. Lin Ruoxi's Bentley was finally repaired. The tires of the car were shipped all the way from England. Lin Ruoxi wasn't sure if it was because there wasn't any stock in the country, or because the car's design was different from other cars, but she wasn't in a good mood. Yang Qing wondered why this girl didn't change her car when she had so many cars. The reason given by Lin Ruoxi made Yang Qing feel very emotional. She had feelings for the car and didn't want to change. Yang Qing thought that it would be great if the feelings for the car could be used on him. When he arrived at the departure hall of the international airport, Li Jingjing, who was wearing a pink sweater and a white jacket, was holding a small suitcase and waiting silently. When she saw Yang Qing and Lin Ruoxi together, Li Jingjing's eyes were slightly moist and she smiled. Sister Ruoxi. Brother Yang. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me off. After the phone call yesterday, Li Jingjing didn't really believe that Lin Ruoxi would really come to the airport to see her off. But who knew that it was true? Yang Qing sighed and patted the back of Li Jingjing's head. He wouldn't avoid Lin Ruoxi from doing this. It was a kind of love for his sister, and he knew that Lin Ruoxi would understand. When you go there, you'll be alone. Don't believe in the words of others, especially those who seem to treat you well. Don't be reluctant to spend money just because US dollars are more expensive than Huaxia dollars. You have to spend what you need to spend, or else you won't be able to live. Take care and have a safe trip. Lin Ruoxi said lightly, as if it was a very easy task. Li Jingjing couldn't hold back her tears. Other than nodding, she couldn't say anything else. Lin Ruoxi suddenly smiled. You are one of the few friends I have here. I will wait for you to come back so that you can continue to teach me how to cook. Oh right, when you come back in 2 years there will be some new cute children in the orphanage. Li Jingjing smiled through her tears and nodded vigorously. Thank you, Brother Yang and Sister Ruoxi. Goodbye. Goodbye. Li Jingjing didn't say anything more. She turned around and pulled her luggage, walking in the direction of the exit without looking back. Lin Ruoxi was the first to turn around and walk out of the airport. Yang Qing caught up with her and said with a smile, Ruoxi, my little darling, I think you're cold on the outside but warm on the inside. A woman like you is too charming. Don't talk nonsense with me. Say those words to other women. Lin Ruoxi rolled her eyes at him. Apparently, sugar-coated words had little effect on a rational woman like her. Yang Qing chuckled. Then let's go to KTV. You promised me yesterday that you would learn singing from me. It's a vital skill for your future. Lin Ruoxi stopped in her tracks and looked a little embarrassed. Can I not go? No. Yang Qing quickly refused. You can't go back on your promise. Look at me, I've done what I promised you. Lin Ruoxi curled her lips and didn't say anything else. She quickly walked to the parking lot. More than half an hour later, the two came to Yuanmeng KTV that they had been to yesterday. The manager naturally wouldn't forget Lin Ruoxi's appearance. Yang Qing didn't even take out his platinum card, and the manager vacated a large private room for Lin Ruoshi and Yang Qing to use for free. Yang Qing realized that he had been tricked by that brat Yuan Yi. It was obvious. This platinum card was a useless thing. With Lin Ruoshi's face, she had enough capital to enter this place for free. Yang Qing felt that he had to extort money from that brat next time. He shouldn't have tricked his big brother like that. But right now, the most important thing was to teach Lin Ruoshi how to sing. There was another big reason why Yang Qing insisted that Lin Ruoshi come, and that was because of his own reputation. His wife was awesome in everything, but when it came to singing, she became the executioner who killed everyone in seconds. Wasn't that embarrassing her husband? Just like how women hoped that their men were handsome and charming so that other women would be envious of them, men also hoped that when their women sang, other men would be envious of them. Although it was fine as long as Lin Ruoshi didn't sing, Yang Qing would always have a knot in his heart. So, Yang Qing taught Lin Ruoshi very seriously, starting from the most basic vocalization and explaining the plainest music theory. As for this professional knowledge, Yang Qing just had to read a few books and memorize it. It wasn't difficult at all. So, there were all kinds of complicated conversations in the KTV room. Use your throat. Not your nose. The nose doesn't make any vocalizations. Cloudy sky is, stop. Stop. How can you sing the first word out of tune? Even if you sing cloudy sky, you won't go away, right? Cloudy sky is, stop. I said you wouldn't go away if you sang it, and you really did it? Sing it. Cloudy sky. The first word is out of tune again. In the end, Yang Qing finally taught Lin Ruoshi how to sing the first line. Although the speed was as slow as reading, at least it was in tune and accurate. Yang Qing thought for a while, and remembered a method from a book. So, he moved his hands up and down and his feet left and right. His whole body started to dance rhythmically. He nodded and said, "Come, do this with me." Lin Ruoshi pouted and looked at Yang Qing's bear-like posture. She shook her head and said, "No, it's too ugly. What are you doing? Didn't you say we were going to sing? This is called rhythm. When your body has a rhythm, you will feel it when you sing. Now, you have to find a rhythm and follow the music. 1 2 3 4, 2 2 3 4, 3 2 3 4. Just like this, follow me, 1 2 2 1 2. Hurry up." Yang Qing moved his limbs like a panda and shouted for Lin Ruoshi to follow him. Lin Ruoshi was shocked by Yang Qing's shout. She looked at Yang Qing's serious face, and he seems to treat her as his student. Lin Ruoshi made up her mind and clenched her teeth. Since no one in the room could see them, she put down the microphone and followed Yang Qing as she stood up and swayed her limbs like a panda. As a result, the young couple were like pandas bumping into each other, swinging their limbs while singing along to the songs on MTV. Lin Ruoshi felt that such a strange movement could really bring out a sense of music, so she gradually became immersed in it, and started singing along with it. After 3 songs, just as Lin Ruoshi and Yang Qing were swinging and singing along with the fast-paced songs, the door opened. A waiter was standing at the door of the private room with a plate of fruits. When he looked up, he saw a man and a woman swinging their limbs like turtles. It couldn't be helped, it just so happened that it was their turn to become turtles. Lin Ruoshi was like a startled rabbit. She threw herself into Yang Qing's arms. She wanted to bang her head against the wall to kill herself. How could she face others in the future? The waiter seemed to realize that he had seen something he shouldn't have. Although he wouldn't be killed, he still put down the fruit plate and slipped away. Yang Qing was delighted by this sudden interruption. Lin Ruoshi had taken the initiative to jump into his arms. With a soft and fragrant body in his arms, and Lin Ruoshi had been moving for a long time, her body was slightly sweaty, so her body fragrance was overflowing. Yang Qing enjoyed a few breaths of the rich fragrance. "Hee, I told you, singing like this will improve quickly," Yang Qing said happily, his hands hugging Lin Ruoshi's soft waist. Lin Ruoshi suddenly realized what she was doing. She pushed Yang Cheng away angrily. Her pretty face was pink. It's all your fault. I don't even dare to go out. What's wrong with that? We have a marriage certificate. No one can stop us from getting a room at a hotel. Yang Cheng said gloomily. I'm not talking about that. Lin Ruoshi was about to cry. That waiter will definitely go out and say that we did that. That weird posture. Yang Cheng curled his lips. Was that strange? Who cares if it was strange, it was effective. Suddenly, Lin Ruoshi's phone vibrated on the table. Lin Ruoshi couldn't care less about the awkwardness. She walked over and picked up the phone. She frowned and immediately picked it up. Hello, Wu Yu. What's up? It was her secretary, Wu Yu, who was on vacation. Lin Ruoshi listened for a while. The flush on her face faded and was followed by a solemn expression. Chapter 359. Yang Cheng waited for Lin Ruoshi to finish the call before he walked up and asked, Did someone die in the company? Why are you so serious? You're the one who died. Lin Ruoshi snorted. You don't know how to say anything nice. Then why do you look so serious? Yang Cheng asked. Lin Ruoshi thought for a while and said, Premier Ning is going to Zhonghai tomorrow to meet with the representatives of the Chamber of Commerce. Wu Yu informed me that I need to prepare to attend the meeting tomorrow. Premier Ning? Yang Cheng thought carefully. It had been a year since he returned to Huaxia and he often watched the news. The first person he thought of was the current premier of Huaxia. He asked, You mean Ning Guangyao? Lin Ruoshi nodded. Who else do you think it is? The current head of the government of Huaxia and the second most powerful person in Huaxia was Ning Guangyao. Ning Guangyao was also the youngest premier in the history of Huaxia. He became the premier when he was less than 50 years old. Because of his handsome appearance, resolute and resourceful, he won the hearts of the people and could be regarded as an idol-level national leader. Yang Cheng clicked his tongue and sighed. I didn't expect you to meet the second-in-command of China's highest authority. Babe Ruoshi, it seems like you've clearly placed your position as the leader of the business world in Zhonghai. Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes at him. I didn't expect that I would be asked to go. Maybe it's because Yulei has made a big move this year. But I'm not the only one. The head of the Yuan family, Yuan Hui, who you know will also go. At the same time, there will be Secretary Fang Zhongping and the chairman of several other companies. There may be more than 20 people. Yang Cheng laughed. This is a good thing. Why do you look distressed? A slight struggle appeared on Lin Ruoshi's cold face as she said, I'm vexed because Wu Yu said that apart from myself, I also have to bring 2 representatives of the company to attend the meeting. That's why I was thinking about who to bring. Now I've decided. I'll bring you and Qianni. Yang Cheng's face stiffened. Bringing Mo Qianni with him? What is this woman playing at? That. Isn't it a little awkward? Yang Cheng couldn't say it too clearly. I know that your bestie has an affair with your husband. Aren't you deliberately making things difficult for me? Lin Ruoshi seemed to be waiting for such an expression on Yang Cheng's face. She sneered and said, I've already decided. What you do is your own business. You're the director of the branch, and Qianni is the vice president. There's nothing wrong with bringing you there. If you screw it up for personal reasons, you're on your own. This was clearly a threat. At the same time, it was also a way for Yang Cheng to express his stance. Even if he didn't cut anyone off, at least he knew who he was biased towards. If you don't go, you can't do it because it's an official job. If you make your wife unhappy because of personal reasons, then you'll have to bear the consequences. This time, it was Yang Cheng's turn to be distressed. When he meets Mo Qianni tomorrow, how should he get along with these 2 women at the same time? Should he call Mo Qianni and tell her not to come? That's impossible. That woman isn't easy to deal with. If she knows the reason, she'll definitely fight it out with Lin Ruoshi. Ayaya, why are there so many heroines around me? Yang Cheng gloomily thought. At the same time, in the military courtyard of the Kai family, Yang Lai, who had been seriously injured and didn't dare to treat his injuries on his own, was still lying unconscious on the bed. This time, Yang Lai followed his master, Ujizi, to Kunlun. He originally planned to perform well in the upcoming battle, but who knew that he would collapse before the battle even started? It couldn't be said that he died before the battle started, but it was as painful as a fetus dying in the womb. This serious injury of Yang Lai couldn't be hidden at all. After all, his position was too eye-catching. His talent was outstanding, and he was accepted as the last disciple of Kunlun's Xiantian expert, Ujizi. At the same time, Yang Lai was the young master of the Yang family, one of the most powerful families in Huaxia. This identity was even more prominent than his own strength. Therefore, the news of this serious injury spread out immediately. Although only some people in the upper echelons knew about it, it was enough to cause quite a stir. Of course, as a father, Yang Pejuan happened to be working in the Jiangnan military, so he quickly rushed to the Kai family's courtyard to check on his son's condition. In less than half a day, Yang Lai's mother also rushed to the Kai family's courtyard. This beautiful lady, who was dressed elegantly and looked like a woman in her 30s, was the one whom Yang Qing had met once before, Guoshuahua. Seeing her own flesh and blood lying unconscious on the bed with a face as pale as a piece of paper, how could anyone tell that he was a lively young man in the past? Guoshuahua felt her vision go black, and she almost fainted on the spot. Fortunately, her guards, Xiaowen and Xiaoli, supported her. In the ward, the head of the Kai family, Kai Yunqing, Kai Ning, Ujizi, and Abbess Yunmiao, were facing Yang Pejuan and Guoshuahua in silence. They could all tell that Yang Pejuan was in a bad mood. Obviously, Yang Lai could be considered the only descendant of the Yang family, and he was such an outstanding person. Now that he was in such a state, how could he bear it? Yang Pejuan's face darkened as he glanced at everyone present. He indeed had the confidence to do so. Even though Abbess Yunmiao and Ujizi were of a higher seniority than him, with his rank of general and the commanding officer of the military, there were not many people in Huaxia who dared to be on equal footing with him. What did the doctor say? Yang Pejuan asked Kai Yunqing. Kai Yunqing sighed and said, "The doctor could only conclude that Yang Lai's internal organs have suffered unimaginable damage. It's a miracle that he's still alive. Surgery and medicine can't cure him." "Can't cure him?" Yang Pejuan said angrily, "Bullsh*t. They're quacks. There's nothing in this world that can't be cured. Can't cancer be cured now? Lai is obviously still breathing and has a heartbeat. Didn't they say that he could still talk before he came back?" Ujizi said, "Commander, the doctor is right. Lai has been tempered with all kinds of secret medicine and medicinal baths since he was young. He also cultivates Kunlun's internal energy, so his body functions are different from ordinary people. And this time, he suffered an internal energy attack from a Xiantian expert. It can be said that if there's a slight movement, Lai will. So it's not a problem that can be solved with ordinary medical treatment. Then what should we do? Is our Lai going to lie there for the rest of his life?" Guoshuahua's eyes were already red from crying, like two red peaches. She really didn't want to continue talking. Yang Pejuan glared at his wife angrily. "What nonsense are you talking about? There must be a way. How can I, Yang Pejuan's son, live the rest of his life like this?" Turning around, Yang Pejuan looked at Ujizi with a sharp gaze. "Taoist, is there any way to cure Lai?" Ujizi frowned. In fact, he knew of a way. Although he wasn't sure if it would work, it was really the only way he could think of. As he thought about it, Ujizi looked at Abbess Yunmiao, who was beside him. Abbess Yunmiao had been silent the whole time. When she saw Ujizi looking at her, she sighed slightly. "There is a way." "Abbess, what way?" Yang Pejuan immediately became alert. Even the father and daughter from the Kai family looked over curiously. Abbess Yunmiao said, Taoist and I have thought about it carefully. Since Yang Lai was injured by an expert with extremely high internal energy, we can naturally use the same level of internal energy to treat him. However, the person who injured him was already a Xiantian full-cycle expert. As far as I know, there are less than a handful of people who have reached this level in Huaxia. Those few people live in seclusion and don't have any contact with the outside world. Perhaps we can't even find them, so we have to find them even if we can't. Liar must recover. Yang Pejuan clenched his teeth. Actually, there's another way. Ujizi hesitated for a long time before saying, actually, we can try to get the young man who injured Liar to treat Liar's injuries. That young man's internal energy is profound and has a miraculous healing effect. As long as he's willing to help, Liar has an 80% chance of completely recovering. If it's another expert, even if we get him, he might not be able to recover Liar's internal energy. Yang Pejuan was shocked. What? Get the person who injured Liar to treat him? That's right. As far as I know, Liar actually doesn't have much of an entanglement with that person. Perhaps it's because of some misunderstanding. So, if we can sincerely beg him, perhaps, Ujizi's meaning was self-evident. That person was Yang Lai's savior. However, it was impossible to ask him to come over without being shameless. This task naturally couldn't be done by anyone else. Even Ujizi, as his master, wasn't qualified to do it. Moreover, with Yang Lai's parents around, it would be inappropriate for Ujizi to do this. Yang Pejuan frowned deeply. Although he wanted Yang Lai to recover, he really couldn't swallow the humiliation of humbly begging someone. I'll go. Guoshihua suddenly said loudly, I'll go beg that person. Master Taoist, tell me quickly, where's the young man who injured Liar? What's his name? Everyone was moved when they saw Guoshihua's determined face, and her tears had yet to dry. After all, a mother's thoughts were the same in every family. Even if she knew that she would be ridiculed in such a situation, and Guoshihua was in a high position, it was already very impressive that she was willing to do this. Seeing that Guoshihua was so persistent, Ujizi couldn't care less about Yang Pejuan's solemn expression anymore. He told Guoshihua Yang Cheng's address. Madam Yang, that young man is called Yang Cheng. He has quite a relationship with Shu Mountain. You can tell him that I'm also hoping that he can help. Please forgive me for not being able to intervene, but I hope that you'll succeed, Yun Miao said. Yang Chun. Guoshihua repeated silently and nodded to show that she remembered it. Thank you, Abbess. Unbeknownst to her, when Yang Pejuan heard this name, he felt a chill on his forehead and suddenly realized something. Seeing that Guoshihua was about to leave with the two guards, Yang Pejuan thought about it and immediately followed them. Shuahua, you can't go. Yang Pejuan shouted and blocked Guoshihua in the corridor. Guoshihua's eyes were red. She said softly, Move away, I want to save my son. You're the wife of the general, the daughter-in-law of the Yang family, and the wife of the future vice-chairman of the military commission. You're begging a martial artist, a young man, in such a humble manner. What's wrong with you? Yang Pejuan reprimanded loudly. Guoshihua smiled bitterly. It's your status, your face, your pride again. Yang Pejuan, I've had enough. 20 years ago, I lost a son because of your nonsense. Is your only son less important than your face? Do you want me to lose a second son? Shut up! Yang Pejuan roared as if the weakest part of his heart was stabbed. Guoshihua didn't care about Yang Pejuan's obstruction at all. She strode past him with a determined expression. Move away! Yang Pejuan stood in the corridor blankly until Guoshihua's footsteps got further away. He then muttered to himself, as a mother, begging her son. Is this karma? The more Yang Pejuan thought about it, the more bizarre he felt. If Yang Cheng was really that Yang Cheng, then how could his martial arts be so domineering? Was he really as outstanding as Yang Jiyu said? Yang Pejuan narrowed his eyes. Yang Li's injury was put aside. Yang Pejuan felt that it was time to carefully investigate Yang Qing's situation. Chapter 360. The next morning, although Yang Qing was helpless, he could only follow Lin Ruoxi to the Zhonghai City Government Office building to attend the meeting between the Chamber of Commerce and Premier Ning. After all, as the financial center of Huaxia and an important export city, Zhonghai played an important role in the country. It was meaningful for the premier to meet with the representatives of the local Chamber of Commerce at the end of the year to talk about the gains and future prospects of the year. In the past, if any leader came, even if the Chamber of Commerce wanted Lin Ruoxi to come, Lin Ruoxi would directly decline and let Mo Qianni come. But this time, he was the premier, not an ordinary ministerial official. It was not easy to not see him. The driver was Mo Qianni. The three arrived at the downtown building together. Along the way, the two women talked and laughed, but they did not pay attention to Yang Qing, who was sitting like a log. Yang Qing was puzzled. Shouldn't the two be jealous of each other? Did he overestimate his charm? The two women who were in work mode obviously did not take Yang Qing too seriously. Once they entered the building, with the introduction of the commissioner, the three entered the conference hall and waited for the arrival of Ning Guangyao. Inside the conference hall, Yuan Hui, Fang Zhongping, other municipal leaders, and the backbone of the Chamber of Commerce were already waiting. Lin Ruoxi and Mo Qianni were the only two women, and they were both beautiful young women. They were the most beautiful scenery in the conference hall. However, most of these CEOs were elders in their 50s or 60s. When they looked at Lin Ruoxi and Mo Qianni, they did not have many men's desires. They only looked at their backs with approval. Yuan Hui saw Yang Qing also came and greeted him with a friendly smile. "I heard you are the director of Yulei Entertainment now?" "Actually, it's the same as before. I'm just making a living and being my wife's assistant." Yang Qing was embarrassed to admit that he did not do anything. Yuan Hui did not mind. "You are naturally not as good as your wife at work, so it's natural for you to be her assistant." "Oh right," Yuan Yi said that you seem to have gotten into a fight with someone. "In fact, there are a lot of things that no one can explain clearly. Don't be too stressed, and don't be too mentally burdened. Everything will get better. You are a mature young man. You know what I mean." Yang Qing thought to himself that this was the main topic. He smiled and said, "I understand. It's fine now." Yuan Hui sighed. He knew that as his son-in-law, he did not have the right to interfere with the Yang family's affairs. He then chatted with Lin Ruoxi for a while and went to talk with the other CEOs. Because of Tang Wan, Fang Zhongping didn't give Yang Qin any face. After exchanging a few pleasantries, he ignored Yang Qin. Yang Qin was depressed. He hadn't contacted Tang Wan for a long time. The duck that was cooked earlier seemed to have flown away after Tang's matter. Although Yang Qing was not so hungry that he had to eat that fat duck, he still felt that it was a pity. At this moment, a group of energetic bodyguards dressed in black rushed in from the entrance of the venue. They were wearing headphones. After looking around, a middle-aged man dressed in a casual suit walked into the venue hall. This man was handsome, and his sideburns were slightly white. He looked energetic, and he had a faint smile on his face, which made him look friendly. The man was followed by a handsome young man who looked similar to him, and there were a few other officials with different looks. Yang Qing recognized this man, Ning Guangyao, who was in the news every day. Ning Guangyao reached out to shake hands with the government and the Chamber of Commerce the moment he entered. Lin Ruoxi, Mo Qianni, and Yang Qing were at the back. When Ning Guangyao shook hands with Lin Ruoxi frowned slightly, but she was ready to extend her hand. However, when Ning Guangyao saw Lin Ruoxi's face, he was stunned. There was a strange look in his eyes, which made Lin Ruoxi's hand freeze in the air. Yang Qin felt depressed. He's already in his 50s. Could it be that he's taken a liking to my wife? Lin Ruoxi also felt uncomfortable, but he was in front of the Prime Minister. She couldn't show her cold and unapproachable expression. She could only bite her lips and pretend that she didn't see Ning Guangyao's strange expression. Women are indeed not inferior to men. I didn't expect the Zhonghai Chamber of Commerce to have such a young and important member. Ning Guangyao chuckled to cover up his momentary loss of manners. He shook hands with Lin Ruoshi. The young man behind Ning Guangyao saw Lin Ruoshi and couldn't move his eyes away. It was as if he was attracted by a magnet. If it wasn't for the situation, he would have pushed the Prime Minister away to shake Lin Ruoshi's hand. Yang Qing had a headache. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have asked Lin Ruoshi to come. What kind of people were they? Emo Qianni saw Yang Qing's unhappy expression and her heart ached. When no one was looking, she reached out and pinched the soft flesh on Yang Qing's waist. Yang Qing instantly understood. Seeing that Lin Ruoshi wasn't paying attention to him, he moved closer to Emo Qianni and said, "What's there to be jealous about? I'm unhappy that you're being stared at." Humph. Emo Qianni rolled her eyes at him. Then, she sat down with Lin Ruoshi and ignored Yang Qing. What followed next was a rather tedious work report with rules and regulations. Yang Qing was simply too lazy to care about these economic rules and regulations. This had nothing to do with a commoner like him. The rules were set by others, he just had to play by them. The only thing that made Yang Qing resentful was that Ning Guangyao was looking at Lin Ruoshi from time to time. Although he pretended to be unconscious, the keen Yang Qing still noticed that Ning Guangyao's gaze was on Lin Ruoshi's face most of the time. The young man sitting at the edge of the table was staring at Lin Ruoshi from beginning to end. He didn't even look at the documents in his hands. Yang Qing couldn't help but ask Emo Qianni, "Qianqian darling, who do you think that guy is? Why are your eyeballs about to fall out? Are you jealous?" Emo Qianni said softly and glanced at Yang Qing. Yang Qing smiled at Qianqian. "Isn't it because I don't want you guys to be seen by others?" Needless to say, he has been staring at Ruoshi, Emo Qianni snorted. "That's Premier Ning's son, Ning Guodong. I heard that he is a member of the entourage and is already a deputy department official. This time, it's not an important meeting, so Premier Ning brought him here. It's said that he might take over his father's position in the future." As expected, like father, like son. Yang Qing thought that if this father and son really dared to have any crooked thoughts, he wouldn't care if he was the premier or not. At most, he would just kill him and replace him. At the end of the meeting, Ning Guangyao proposed a plan for several major groups in Zhonghai to jointly develop a real estate in Beijing. The intention was to link the capital of the two major cities, and it could also be considered a bilateral cooperation led by him. Many CEOs immediately expressed their approval. To them, taking out a few $100 million was as easy as eating beans, and it could even make the premier proud, so why not? However, when it was Lin Ruoshi's turn, Lin Ruoshi thought for a while and replied to Ning Guangyao, "I refuse to participate in this plan." Ning Guangyao was looking at Lin Ruoshi with a kind expression, but was suddenly rejected. He was startled and asked immediately, "General Lin, do you think there's something wrong with this?" The company and the person's name were in front of Lin Ruoshi, so Ning Guangyao already knew her identity. "There's nothing wrong with it, I just think that I can use the money myself and make more profits," Lin Ruoshi said straightforwardly. Needless to say, everyone else took a deep breath. This girl was too blunt. The other party was the second in command of the government. No matter how powerful Yulei was, it would still be beaten half to death if he moved a finger. However, Ning Guangyao didn't seem to be angry at all. Instead, he looked at Lin Ruoshi with a thoughtful expression and nodded lightly. "If that's the case, then General Lin doesn't need to participate. After all, this is a voluntary project." "Thank you, Premier," Lin Ruoshi said. She knew that it was a little rude, but business was business, and she was used to making decisions on her own. The meeting ended, and Ning Guangyao and the other patrollers began to bid farewell to the Chamber of Commerce and the Municipal Committee of Zhonghai. After all, this was only a stop on the way, and he still had other places to give speeches. At the end of the year, the leaders always had a lot to attend to. However, before they left, Ning Guodong finally couldn't take it anymore. He walked up to Lin Ruoshi with a handsome smile and said, "Your old, General Lin, I'm Ning Guodong. I know it's a little presumptuous to greet you like this, but I just want to invite you to have a meal together. I wonder if I have the opportunity?" Ning Guodong was the Prime Minister's son. He had an outstanding appearance and a high status. Naturally, there were countless women who adored him. However, he wasn't a playboy. Under the protection of a father like Ning Guangyao, his every move was under the watchful eye of others. At this moment, he made such an invitation to Lin Ruoshi because he was too tempted. Lin Ruoshi didn't pay much attention to Ning Guodong's request. Instead, she unintentionally glanced at Yang Qing, who was next to her. Seeing that Yang Qing's gaze was about to kill Ning Guodong, she was slightly delighted. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ning, maybe next time." Lin Ruoshi also knew Ning Guodong's identity, so she didn't speak too harshly. Ning Guodong didn't expect Lin Ruoshi to reject him. He was slightly disappointed, but he didn't mind it too much. He smiled and nodded. "All right, although it's a pity, I hope General Lin will do me the honor next time." After Ning Guangyao and the others left, Yang Qing angrily said to Lin Ruoshi, "How can you say next time? You should reject him directly." "Reject? Even if you beat me to death, I won't go." Lin Ruoshi glanced at him proudly. "I just want you to see that you're not the only man in this world. As for whether or not I want to eat with other men, it depends on your performance. The decision is in your hands." After saying that, she turned around and left. Yang Qing's face was filled with astonishment, followed by bitterness. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why did he suddenly become so passive? Could it be that this girl was taking revenge on him for letting her play Panda Clash yesterday? This time, Emo Qianni didn't get jealous. Instead, she giggled at the side. "What are you laughing at, little Qianqian? Are you happy that your man is being bullied like this?" Yang Qing asked. Emo Qianni pouted and said, "I just think that if you don't treat me well in the future, I'll be as good as Ruoshi. Anyway, it's not like there aren't people who want to treat me to a meal all day long." "You guys." Even if he was stabbed by a knife, Yang Qing almost had the urge to vomit blood. Chapter 361. At the invitation of the leaders of the Municipal Party Committee and some people from the Chamber of Commerce, Yang Qing and Lin Ruoshi had lunch in a government hotel. Mo Qianni, on the other hand, had left because she had some other work to do. This time, the meeting between the three of them was not as awkward as Yang Qing had imagined. Perhaps the two women had a tacit understanding in private. Lin Ruoshi would not point out the problem, and Emo Qianni would also pretend that she did not notice anything. Under the premise that no one was mentally prepared, no one dared to break this situation easily. Yang Qing heaved a sigh of relief. He would not have a headache for the time being, but it would be hard to say in the future. He asked Wu Yu to send a car over, and Yang Qing drove it home. When they arrived at the door, Yang Qing's sharp eyes immediately noticed a familiar white Infinity car parked in front of the door. Yang Qing was slightly puzzled. How could it be that woman? But when he thought that she might be looking for Lin Ruoshi, he did not think too much about it. Lin Ruoshi did not notice that there were guests at her house. Just when she walked to the door and was about to open it, the door immediately opened by itself. Two familiar-looking young female guards, Xiaowen and Xiaoli, walked out first, followed closely by Guoxuehua, who looked melancholy and had red and swollen eyes. Guoxuehua had been waiting for the two of them to come home. When she vaguely heard some movements outside, she immediately ran out. Hui Lin and Mother Wang followed her to the door. Mother Wang looked a little surprised, but Hui Lin's brows were deeply knitted, and her eyes were filled with self-blame and guilt. "Are you Yang Qing?" Guoxuehua was also stunned when she saw Yang Qing. It had not been a long time since they last met at the orphanage. Moreover, Yang Cheng's appearance and aura gave her a very special feeling. She vaguely had some strange thoughts, so when she saw Yang Cheng, she immediately recognized him. A flash of surprise flashed in Yang Cheng's eyes. He did not expect that she was looking for him, and not Lin Ruoxi. Lin Ruoxi looked at Yang Cheng strangely. She had just seen Guoxuehua, and she thought that the founder of New Hope Orphanage was looking for her. Although they did not have much interaction in the past, and they did not talk much when they met occasionally, she should not be looking for Yang Cheng, right? I am. Yang Cheng nodded. Guoxuehua suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Yang Cheng's arm. She did not care about her dignified demeanor and hurriedly said, I am Yang Lai's mother, Guoxuehua. We met at the orphanage last time. I heard that you can save my son. I beg you, please save him, okay? Guoxuehua's pleading was like a bolt from the blue that hit Yang Cheng's mind. Yang Cheng's eyes widened, and he was stunned for a long time. Yang Lai's mother? Yang Cheng suddenly realized something. No wonder when he saw the portrait of this woman, he felt a sense of déjà vu. No wonder when he met her at the entrance of the orphanage that day, he also felt a special emotional fluctuation. No wonder the corner of Yang Cheng's mouth revealed a trace of bitterness. He did not look at Guoxuehua's face and said in a low voice, Do you know why he was injured by me? Guoxuehua's face was sad. She smiled bitterly and said, I know. I just asked little Hui about the situation that day. Lai has always liked little Hui, but he is not a bad person. He was just anxious, so he was a little reckless. He's already been punished. Can you go and save him? If he goes on like this, he will not be able to get up again. Hui Lin looked sad. She naturally knew Guoxuehua. Although she had been cultivating in Mount Amei all year round, she still knew the important figures of the big families in Yanjing. Although she did not like Yang Lai, Hui Lin still felt pity when she saw this woman, who had always been praised by the upper class, begging in such a low voice. Lin Ruoxi finally understood the cause of the matter. She did not expect that Yang Lai was Guoxuehua's son. Since Guoxuehua had quietly established so many orphanages without seeking any rewards from society, it was obvious that she was kind. She really did not understand why her son, Yang Lai, would have such a bad temper. However, although Lin Ruoxi could not bear to see Guoxuehua like this, she did not persuade Yang Cheng to save Yang Lai. After all, some things were decided by men. Reckless. Yang Cheng snorted and sneered. In broad daylight, he used force to drag a girl who did not want to go with him. At the same time, he mocked and ridiculed those who did not have any evil intentions, completely disregarding them. Such a person will think highly of himself and be arrogant just because he has some strength. Instead of letting others suffer after he recovers, it's better for him to spend the rest of his life alone in bed. Anyway, with the power of the Yang family, even if you can't cure him, you can still make him a patient lying on the bed. Guoxuehua turned pale with fright. Her wrinkled face seemed to have aged a few years as she looked at Yang Cheng wearily. Yang Cheng could not bear it. But to be honest, although he was young, he had seen countless people. Based on Yang Lai's character, it was almost predestined. Once he recovered, he would only have a stronger grudge against him and would not turn over a new leaf. Therefore, Yang Cheng made up his mind and rejected Guoxuehua's request. There was still a sour and unbalanced feeling in the bottom of Yang Cheng's heart. When he thought that this woman actually came to beg him and cried for the sake of that good-for-nothing guy, Yang Cheng felt a violent and gloomy feeling surging in his heart. If it was not for the fact that his endless resolve restoration scripture had been cultivated to the 9th level, and Yang Cheng's willpower and endurance were extremely firm, he might not have been able to control himself and directly turned around and left. How can you be like this? Do you think you're so great just because you're good at fighting? Isn't it enough that my family's madam humbly begged you? Xiaowen, the guard at the side, could not hold back anymore. She had not liked Yang Cheng since they were in the orphanage. Now that her madam was so embarrassed and in pain, she immediately became angry and did not care that Yang Cheng's strength was much stronger than hers. Yang Qing glanced at Xiao Wen coldly. He only released a little bit of pressure, but it was enough to make Xiao Wen's face turn red, and she did not dare to say another word. Go back. I will not save Yang Lai. Not every mistake has a chance to change. He is lucky that he did not die in my hands. It is other people's luck that he cannot use force in the future. After finishing his words, Yang Qing prepared to go back into the house. Wait! Guo Shuhua turned around and shouted loudly to stop Yang Qing. Looking at Yang Qing's cold back, her elegant face showed some determination. Puff! Under the watchful eyes of the surrounding women, Guo Shuhua suddenly knelt on the ground. Even if Yang Qing did not turn around to look, he knew what had happened behind him. However, it was too sudden, and he did not think of stopping it at all. She actually kneeling to me? Yang Qing stood on the spot in a daze. It was as if his feet were nailed. Behind him, Guo Shuhua did not cry anymore. Instead, she smiled sadly. Today, I came to beg you to save my son, not as the madam of the Yang family, nor as a member of a big shot's family. I only came to beg you as the biological mother of my son. So, I am not forcing you, nor am I commanding you. I am sincerely begging you. Although I know that my son has made a mistake that he should not have made, and he should not be so arrogant. But please allow me to say something extreme. Shouldn't children make mistakes? If they don't make mistakes, how can they be children? When children do things that harm others, as parents, it is difficult for them to absolve themselves from the blame. Even if Lai really does something disgraceful in the future, it is because we did not educate him well for the past 20 years. I am not a good mother, but I hope that when my son's life is about to be ruined, I can try my best to save him. Guo Shuhua raised her head and looked at Yang Cheng's back, which was still motionless. Today, I will kneel here and beg you. No matter what you ask of me, as long as I can do it, I will do it. But please don't let my only remaining son be ruined like this, okay? Only remaining son, my life is really a joke. Yang Qing laughed. He laughed so hard that his shoulders started to shake. In the end, it turned into a maniacal laughter. He even laughed so hard that tears flowed out from the corners of his eyes. The rest of the people present, including the two guards, Mother Wang and Hui Lin, were all surprised. They did not understand what was wrong with Yang Qing. Lin Ruoxi listened to Yang Cheng's wild and unruly laughter, but her heart ached. She did not know why, although Yang Qing was clearly laughing, it made Lin Ruoxi feel extremely sad. She felt so sad that she felt despair. The feeling of loneliness and desolation was hard to erase from this man's back view. Although Lin Ruoxi knew that Yang Qing had an extraordinary past, at this moment, she understood a little more. A man with this kind of laughter, perhaps he had really seen too many things lightly. After a long time, when Guo Shuhua was about to lose all hope, Yang Qing slowly turned around and looked at the woman who was kneeling on the ground expressionlessly. He looked at her haggard face and said, "If you want me to save your son, you have to promise me one thing." Guo Shuhua's eyes flashed with ecstasy. "Don't say one thing. Anything, as long as it's within my power, I'll do it even if it's 1,000,000, 10,000. Yang Qing shook his head. "I don't need you to do so many things, but there's one thing I want you to keep in mind." Taking a deep breath, Yang Qing said in front of everyone's nervous eyes, "Madame Guo Shuhua, I hope that from now on, you will never say the word beg to me again. Never say the word beg to me again. Never kneel to me again. No matter what happens, I forbid you to kneel to me or anyone else. No matter who it is. No matter what it is. Don't ask why, just ask me, can you do it?" Chapter 362. Not only Guo Shuhua, but everyone else also couldn't understand why Yang Qing was speaking in such an agitated and sonorous tone. Was this it? Was this a request? Guo Shuhua was stunned for a while. She looked at Yang Cheng's deep and complicated eyes and nodded silently. I promise you, Guo Shuihua said solemnly. She stood up slowly and didn't ask why. Yang Qing didn't say anything else. He walked past Guo Shuihua and said to Lin Ruoxi, Wifey, I'll go home for dinner after I'm done with my business. You can go in first. Lin Ruoxi nodded. Got it. Yang Qing didn't care about the others and walked towards Guo Shuihua's infinity. Lin Ruoxi turned around and looked at Yang Qing's back. He looked extremely bleak in the cold wind. Even his usual laziness couldn't be seen anymore. Guo Shuihua stood in front of the door for a long time. There were many complicated thoughts that she couldn't clear up. However, when she saw that Yang Qing was already in the car, she immediately said goodbye to Lin Ruoxi and the others and returned to the car with Little One and Little Li. On the way to the military compound of the Kai clan, Yang Chen sat beside Guo Shuihua silently with his eyes closed. He seemed to be deep in thought. Guo Shuihua was excited. She knew that her son could be saved. She looked at Yang Cheng's side profile from time to time. She felt that there was something special about him, but she couldn't figure out what it was exactly. When they arrived at the Kai family's compound, there were a few more layers of guards outside. It was obvious that there were many important people gathered inside for Yang Lai. Following the lead of a servant from the Kai clan, Yang Chen and Guo Shuihua walked into the quiet courtyard where Yang Lai stayed. Many armed soldiers stood in every dark corner with stern expressions. If an ordinary person were to enter the entire area, they wouldn't even dare to breathe loudly. Yang Qing walked along the long corridor without saying a word to Guo Shuihua or asking about the current situation. When they arrived at the door of Yang Lai's room, everyone in the room looked at Yang Qing. Other than Kai Yunqing, Kai Ning, and Yang Lai's master, Yu Jizi, Yang Jieyu was also standing beside Yang Lai's bed. When Yang Jieyu found out that her nephew was injured by Yang Qing, she was angry and distressed. She knew that with Yang Cheng's character, Yang Lai must have done something wrong first, which caused such a disaster. But when she thought about how family members attacked each other, Yang Jieyu was filled with anger. However, he couldn't go against his elder brother's wishes, so he could only remain silent and watch the scene unfold in front of him. Seeing that Yang Qing was invited by Guo Shuihua, Yang Jieyu was relieved. She thought that Yang Qing was willing to come and save Yang Lai because of their friendship. She didn't know that it was Guo Shuihua who begged him. I'm really grateful that you came. I know you have your reasons, but he's still too young. I hope you can be more tolerant, Yang Jieyu said to Yang Qing sincerely. Since I'm here, there's no need to say these words, Yang Qing said. Yang Jieyu sighed. Then I'll leave it to you. To be honest, He Wei and I like you a lot. You're a reliable young man and we're proud of you. Yang Qing didn't reply. He walked to Yang Lai's bed and looked at the pale Yang Lai in silence. Kai Yunqing was slightly stunned and asked Kai Ning, This person is Yang Qing? He knows your Aunt Yang? Kai Ning nodded and said faintly, I don't know why, but I do know him. Kai Yunqing pondered. Yang Jieyu, Yang Qing, Yang Lai. Yang family. Could there be some other relationship between them? Guo Shuihua was slightly surprised to see that her sister-in-law knew Yang Qing long ago, but she didn't ask immediately. She only looked at Yang Jieyu suspiciously. She knew that her sister-in-law wasn't easy to deal with. She was involved in many of the Yang family's matters. She treated Yang Qing warmly as if she was talking to a junior. This definitely wasn't something that would happen normally. Guo Shuihua had a vague feeling that the people around her were hiding something from her. Are you confident? Taoist Yu Jizi finally spoke and asked Yang Qing. He valued his last disciple very much. Yang Qing glanced at him and said, Can I just leave if I say I'm not confident? Taoist Yu Jizi's face instantly turned ugly, but he didn't dare to lose his temper. Now that he knew Yang Qing's true identity, he completely understood that he wasn't on the same level as him. Yang Qing turned his back to everyone and said, Everyone, leave this room. No one is allowed to come near for half an hour. Guo Shuihua was a little worried. She wanted to ask Yang Qing what he was going to do, but she was stopped by Yang Jiu. Sister-in-law, let's go. Yang Qing has a sense of propriety. Maybe he doesn't want to distract us during the treatment. Guo Shuihua had no choice but to follow Kai Yunqing and Taoist Yu Jizi out of the room. When they came to the courtyard outside the room, Guo Shuihua looked at the closed door and asked Yang Jiu, "Jiu, tell me the truth. Are you hiding something from me?" Yang Jiu was stunned. She knew that Guo Shuihua was a smart woman. She must have sensed something from the tone of her conversation with Yang Qing. Although she wanted to tell this poor woman that the child she had been searching for more than 20 years was right in front of her, she also knew that if she really did that, Guo Shuihua would definitely bring Yang Qing back at all costs and pull him into the Yang family. In this way, some rivals of the Yang family in the political arena could seize the scandal of the Yang family in the past and cause a huge blow to Yang Pejuan's election campaign. Although the Yang family might not collapse because of this, it would definitely be hit hard and its development would be limited in the future. Although Yang Jiu was courageous, she did not dare to change the fate of the family without permission. Therefore, she just blanked out for a moment and showed an easygoing smile. "Sister-in-law, what are you thinking about? Why would I hide anything from you?" Guo Shuihua was obviously not easy to fool. She asked, "Then how did you know Yang Qing? Can you tell me?" Yang Jiu immediately thought of an excuse. She smiled and said, "Oh, his wife, Lin Ruoshi, is the CEO of Yulei International. She has business dealings with the Yuan family, so we got to know each other at the banquet and chatted. We are friends." Lin Ruoshi. Guo Shuihua did not pay much attention to Lin Ruoshi when she was in the villa, because she was focused on Yang Qing. Now that she thought about it, she remembered that Yang Qing called that woman wife before he left. After thinking about it carefully, Guo Shuihua remembered that she seemed to have seen that woman a few times in the orphanage in Zhonghai. But it was just a blink of an eye. So she is the CEO of Yulei International. Yulei International. Lin Ruoshi. Guo Shuihua muttered to herself, "She really looks like that woman." "What? With what woman?" Yang Jiu heard Guo Shuihua suddenly muttering to herself and couldn't help but ask. Guo Shuihua shook her head and said, "Nothing. I was just thinking about something from the past." Although Yang Jiu felt that there must be some inside story, she didn't ask much. At this moment, facing Guo Shuihua, she was feeling very guilty, so she didn't dare to say anything. While Yang Qing was treating Yang Lai's injuries, Guo Shuihua and the others were waiting in the courtyard. Outside the Kai family's courtyard, two men who happened to be here also met. As usual, Yang Pejuan was wearing a military uniform. His face was as sharp as a knife, and there was a hint of coldness on his face. When he saw the energetic man in a black coat coming out of the other jeep, he felt a little strange. "General Lin, why do you have time to come here?" The person Yang Pejuan asked was Lin Jigua. Lin Jigua wasn't surprised to see Yang Pejuan. He said with a smile, "Commander Yang's son is not well. I just heard the news, so I came immediately. The mission this time is extremely difficult. As an important combatant, Yang Lai was suddenly injured. As the commander-in-chief, it's only natural for me to care about him. I thank General Lin for your concern on behalf of my son." Yang Pejuan cursed the old fox in his heart. What did he mean by "just heard the news"? He was just like me. He received the report and knew that Yang Qing was here to treat Yang Lai's injuries. He was worried, so he rushed over immediately. Thinking about how this person brought the DNA test report to Yang Gongming and got scolded by his father, Yang Pejuan didn't have a good attitude towards Lin Jigua. Obviously, from Yang Pejuan's point of view, Lin Jigua's intention wasn't simple. He must have a more far-reaching plan, so he had to be careful. The Lin family wasn't considered as a top family with real power like the Yang family in Beijing, but they were still slightly inferior. They shouldn't be underestimated, especially when Yang Gongming told him not to underestimate the Major General Lin Jigua. It was obvious that this guy had a hidden force behind him. At the very least, when Yang Lai and Yu Jizi went down the mountain to participate in the national mission, Lin Jigua was in charge. Yang Pejuan suddenly remembered that he spent the whole night investigating Yang Cheng's background for the past 20 years. With the military's information and methods, a lot of Yang Cheng's information was directly locked in the ultimate file. Only the highest-ranking personnel in the National Security Bureau could see it. As for some of the information that he knew, he didn't even know if it was true or false, so it was useless. Although Yang Pejuan was only in charge of the military, he knew that Huaxia had a secret organization called Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. However, it wasn't in public, so it stayed away from power struggles and wasn't valued by others. Yang Pejuan thought about it. The only possibility was that Yang Cheng's information was kept by that department. Only Yellow Flame Iron Brigade would need to protect their information like that. Even he, the commander of the military, couldn't see it. Then, Lin Jigua, who could detect the relationship between Yang Cheng and the Yang family. Could he be the real person in charge of Yellow Flame Iron Brigade? Only that possibility would make Old Master Yang Gongming look at him cautiously. Thinking about this, Yang Pejuan asked while walking with Lin Jigua, "General Lin, you know Yang Cheng, right?" Lin Jigua already knew that Yang Pejuan would ask this. "Yes, we've worked together twice." There seems to be quite a lot of special things about his past. Yang Pejuan glanced at Lin Jigua from the corner of his eyes. Lin Jigua raised his eyebrows slightly. "Commander Yang, you know more about military secret than I do." Yang Pejuan's heart sank. It seemed like his guess was right. Yang Cheng did have a very terrifying past. Thinking about it, how could someone that Yu Jizi was so afraid of be simple? Although he didn't know what military secret Lin Jigua was hiding, Yang Pejuan had to weigh the scales in his heart again. What kind of position should he place this young man who suddenly appeared out of nowhere? Chapter 363. When Yang Pejuan and Lin Jigua arrived at the courtyard, Abbess Yun Miao was already standing there. Seeing Yang Pejuan, Abbess Yun Miao only nodded slightly. But when she saw Lin Jigua, she didn't intend to bother with him at all. She turned her head and pretended not to see him. Lin Jigua sighed and walked to Abbess Yun Miao's side. "Why do you have to do this? You have to make me feel bad every time we meet. Treating me like this won't do you any good either." Abbess Yun Miao snorted. "Just worry about yourself. Of course, you don't have to care about my matters." "Can I not care? If you didn't insist on Hui to be with Yang Chen back then, this wouldn't have happened today. Now that the young master of the Yang family is injured, are you satisfied?" Abbess Yun Miao glared at Lin Jigua and said angrily, "This is better than your decision that caused my son and daughter-in-law to die." "You." Lin Jigua was furious, but he couldn't say anything to refute. After all, it was his decision to let his children die in a foreign land. Seeing that Abbess Yun Miao and Lin Jigua quarreled after just a few words, everyone pretended not to hear or see anything. The fact that Lin Jigua and Abbess Yun Miao were husband and wife wasn't a secret in this circle. However, people didn't know much about it. They only knew that the two had been fighting for more than 20 years, so they weren't surprised. Yang Pejuan exchanged a look with his sister, Yang Jieyu, before walking to Guoshuehua's side. He looked at the closed door with a complicated expression. "That young man is treating Liar?" Guoshuehua was a gentle person. Even though she didn't get along well with Yang Pejuan before, she wouldn't quarrel with Abbess Yun Miao for more than 20 years. She nodded lightly and said softly, "He said not to disturb him for an hour. He should be done soon." Yang Pejuan asked casually, "Did he say anything special to you?" "Special? What do you want to ask?" Guoshuehua gave her husband a strange look. Yang Pejuan immediately changed the topic. "He came just because you asked him to? Didn't he make any requests?" Of course, Guoshuehua wouldn't say that she had knelt down. It wasn't because she didn't want to lose face, but because she knew that if she said it, Yang Pejuan would definitely be furious. At that time, everyone would be awkward and unhappy. Therefore, Guoshuhua only said, "He only told me not to beg him in the future. That was his only request." Beg? Yang Pejuan frowned, but when he heard that Yang Qing forbade Guoshuhua to beg him, he was shocked. Yang Pejuan quickly realized that even though Guoshuhua didn't know Yang Qing, Yang Qing might have already known about his relationship with the Yang family. As for why he didn't point it out, Yang Pejuan could think of many reasons. But no matter what, as long as Yang Qing didn't point it out, it would be beneficial for him. You really shouldn't beg him. He's just your junior, not some big shot. He can't bear your request, Yang Pejuan said proudly. Guoshuhua frowned, but she didn't refute. She was used to Yang Pejuan's arrogance. But at this moment, Guoshuhua looked at Yang Pejuan's side profile. Suddenly, something stirred in her mind. Guoshuhua fell into deep thought. Why did it seem like, after 5 to 6 minutes of silence in the courtyard, the door to Yang Lai's room finally opened? Yang Qing walked out quietly with an indifferent face. There were some faint beads of sweat on his forehead. When everyone saw Yang Qing, they immediately looked at him with questioning eyes. As for Yang Pejuan and Guoshuhua, they had different looks in their eyes. Yang Pejuan looked at Yang Qing with a scrutinizing and thoughtful gaze. As for Guoshuhua, she seemed to have suddenly thought of something and was stunned on the spot. Yang Qing said to Yujizi and the rest, "You can recover in a month. You'll be able to make up for the slight reduction in your power by cultivating diligently." Yang Qing's voice was slightly weak. To heal a person's meridians and internal organs, the internal energy of the Endless Resolve Restoration scripture was much more than expected. Moreover, Yang Lai's injuries weren't external, so he couldn't use his own blood to speed up the recovery. The exhaustion wasn't insignificant. Such a serious injury can actually be healed in half an hour. Senior brother Song once told me about the magic of the Endless Resolve Restoration scripture. I didn't expect the 9th level to have such a terrifying recovery ability, Yun Miao mumbled to herself. At this moment, everyone at the scene heaved a sigh of relief. After all, if Yang Lai was completely paralyzed and half dead, the Yang family wouldn't let it go so easily. Although most of them knew that Yang Qing wasn't afraid of such things, it was still something harmful to Hua Xia. Not to mention Yang Jiyu, who was worried about her family. After Yang Qing finished speaking, he didn't want to stay in this place any longer. However, just as he was about to leave, he raised his head and saw Yang Pejuan standing in front of him. This was the first time the two of them had officially met each other. However, whether it was Yang Qing or Yang Pejuan, many things became clear in an instant. Guoshuhua finally realized what the strange feeling she had when she saw Yang Qing previously was. Too similar. Her husband and this young man named Yang Qing looked too similar. Although Yang Pejuan was getting on in years and had become older, he still looked very similar to Yang Qing when he was younger. It was just that Guoshuhua had never thought about it that way, so she didn't notice it before. Back then, Yang Jieyu and Yuan Hui were outsiders, so they could see it more clearly. Through various secret investigations and combined with Yang Qing's attitude, Yang Jieyu was able to make this judgment. After Yang Qing and Yang Pejuan looked at each other, no one said a word. They were just like the most ordinary strangers. Yang Qing turned his gaze to Kai Ning. "Help me prepare a car." Before Kai Ning could reply, Kai Yunqing said, "No problem. I have to thank you for saving Yang Lai." Seeing that Yang Qing was about to leave, Lin Jigua walked up and said, "Young man, don't be so impatient. I still have something to discuss with you." Yang Qing had already seen Lin Jigua and knew that it wasn't anything good. As expected, Lin Jigua came looking for him again. "Spit it out." Yang Qing was a little impatient. Lin Jigua already knew Yang Qing's temper. Moreover, there were people present that Yang Qing didn't want to interact with. Lin Jigua was also one of the people present, so he wasn't angry. He smiled and said, "It's not convenient here." Yang Qing walked straight out of the courtyard. Lin Jigua looked at everyone and followed Yang Qing out of the courtyard. Seeing that Lin Jigua had something to discuss with Yang Qing, the others didn't follow him. Yang Jiu, Yu Jizi, Yun Miao, and Kai Yunqing all went to other courtyards, leaving only Yang Pejuan and Guo Shuahua. Seeing that Guo Shuahua was looking at him suspiciously, Yang Pejuan knew that his wife had noticed something. His heart tightened, but he pretended as if nothing had happened. He said, "Let's go in and see Liar." Guo Shuahua didn't say anything and followed Yang Pejuan into the house. Yang Lai was lying on the bed. His complexion looked much better. Looking at him from a close distance, he looked like he was sleeping. Guo Shuahua heaved a sigh of relief. She adjusted the blanket for Yang Lai and thought for a while. With her back facing Yang Pejuan, she asked, "Pejuan, are you hiding something from me?" "No," Yang Pejuan answered straightforwardly. Guo Shuahua seemed to have confirmed her guess. She smiled and said, "If you say no, then there must be something. If there's really nothing, you'll definitely ask me why I'm asking this. After being married for so many years, I know you better than you do." Yang Pejuan frowned. "Since you know me so well, you shouldn't have asked me." "Can I not ask?" Guo Shuahua suddenly turned around and stared straight at Yang Pejuan. "Tell me, Yang Qing, is he our lost child?" Chapter 364. Outside the Kai family's courtyard, under a huge locust tree, Yang Chen had a cigarette in his mouth, and his body was half leaning against the tree. He raised his head to look at Lin Jigua and said, "I'm not in a good mood right now, make it short." Lin Jigua nodded knowingly and said, "Do you know why Yang Lai came to Zhonghai with his master, Taoist Yu Jizi from Kunlun sect?" "That's not what I'm concerned about," Yang Qing said. "But that's what I'm concerned about. It's what the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade is concerned about," Lin Jigua said seriously. "This time, the master and disciple came down the mountain mainly to support us. Last month, we received a threatening letter of challenge. The opponent's strength forced us to ask for help from experts outside of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. Although Yang Lai hasn't joined the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade yet, his strength is comparable to Sky Dragon's. Together with his master, Taoist Yu Jizi, he will be a great help. So, since you injured Yang Lai, you have to compensate us. Otherwise, if we lose, it won't be good for anyone," Lin Jigua said with a smile and a proud look on his face. Yang Qing sneered and said, "I did it for your granddaughter. Shouldn't you thank me? Even if was taken away by Yang Lai wouldn't hurt her. Yang Lai can still participate in the battle. But this time, you almost killed Yang Lai and he might not be able to fully recover even after a month. On the other hand, our battle could start at any time. Don't you think this is very unfair to us? Why should I play fair with you? Why should I compensate you?" Yang Qing asked as he flicked the ash off his cigarette. Lin Jigua put his hands behind his back and looked at the direction of Sea City. "We tolerated you bringing a team of Sea Eagles to Huaxia. This is already the greatest privilege. This time, you injured our main force, but we won't pursue it. Although I admit that we respect you, don't you think it's appropriate for us to show our respect?" Yang Qing pondered for a moment and asked, "Tell me first, who is the other party and why he came?" Lin Jigua narrowed his eyes, and a trace of sharpness flashed through his eyes. "You definitely know the enemy better than I do. Sandstorm, the mercenary group of Sandstorm. Their target is the nuclear aircraft carrier that Huaxia is building in the hidden bay of Zhonghai." Hearing this name, Yang Qing could not help but frown. Huaxia's construction of a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier had always been a rumor in the international community. No one had expected it to be true. This kind of news was obviously disadvantageous to many militarily powerful countries. Therefore, it was not impossible to hire non-national mercenaries to destroy it. After all, the world's top mercenary group was much stronger than the country's special forces. Sandstorm, this mercenary group, has never left the Middle East, right? Yang Qing asked. That's right. Ever since Sandstorm was established, no one knows how it was formed. They have only been active for the past 2 years. If the sea eagles that listen to you are the mercenary overlord of the Mediterranean Sea and Northern Europe, then Sandstorm is the overlord of the Middle East. To be honest, our water dragon special forces are no match for them at all, Lin Jigua said with a serious expression. Yang Qing took 2 deep puffs of the cigarette. The stimulation of the low-quality tobacco cleared his mind. After throwing the cigarette butt away, he began to ponder, speaking of Sandstorm, although Yang Qing did not have much contact with them, his men had suffered quite a bit in their hands. According to Solin's report, ever since the appearance of Sandstorm, almost all of the big contracts in the Middle East were taken by them. It was not that Sea Eagles were not as good as them, but in the Middle East, most of Sea Eagle's members were from the Mediterranean Sea and Northern Europe. As they lived on the sea and ice all year round, they were not good at fighting in the hot and bold desert wars. Therefore, in the past 2 years, the Middle East and Europe had been divided by the 2 mercenary groups. Sandstorm earned the gold of the oil tycoons, while Sea Eagles earned the gold of the ancient European nobles. No one interfered with the other, but they were secretly competing. Sandstorm's most famous battle was when they were hired by the revolutionary army of a country in the Middle East and directly overthrew the government of that country. During this process, the U.S. tried to use high-tech military force to suppress Sandstorm and thus control the puppet regime. However, Sandstorm's soldiers sneaked into the U.S. military camp and kidnapped a general who was the commander-in-chief during the war. Thus, the U.S. was defeated. After that, Sandstorm's reputation reached its peak. No country dared to underestimate this mercenary group. Since they had always been active in the Middle East, they did not cause too many countries to be dissatisfied with them. Sandstorm also had a strange hobby. Whenever they were about to start a war, Sandstorm would send a letter of challenge in advance saying, "We are coming to fight you, so be prepared." This was a wild, unruly, and extremely confident mercenary group. However, their impressive achievements were indeed admirable. 2 years ago, Yang Qing had gradually faded out of the circle of bloodshed. He had also handed over most of the combat forces under his name to Solin, Maekdan, and the others to manage. Therefore, he had never come into contact with people from Sandstorm. The founder of Sandstorm was also a mysterious person. There was no information on his past at all. They only knew that he was a young man and nothing else. Yang Qing finally understood why Lin Jigua was so shameless as to ask for his help. If Sandstorm really came for Huaxia, the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade would indeed be no match for them. The combat power of the group of 8 was not bad, but the members of the Dragon team were at most on the same level as the mercenaries from Sandstorm. In terms of bravery, they could not even compare to Sandstorm. Perhaps inviting Ujizi and Yang Lai down the mountain was because they had no other choice. Sandstorm is coming from the Persian Gulf. Since it's an ocean battle, they definitely won't bring a large force. They will probably only have 2 elite teams. Can't you use the military to intercept them at sea? Yang Qing asked. Lin Jigua smiled bitterly. We want to, but do you know who hired Sandstorm this time? Yang Qing shook his head. There were many people in the world who wanted to stop Huaxia from owning a nuclear aircraft carrier. Brahma, Lin Jigua sighed. Yang Qing was really shocked this time. It was them. You didn't expect this, did you? Brahma from India, one of the most inactive hidden organizations in the world, would hire Sandstorm from the Middle East to come all the way to Zhonghai to destroy our aircraft carrier base, Lin Jigua said. Yang Qing was really happy now. In this world, he felt that there was no organization that had the least sense of existence. Brahma from India was the first to bear the brunt of it. Brahma was an organization that was secretly established to protect important people in India after the end of the non-resistance movement and the death of Gandhi. According to ancient Indian mythology, Brahma was the most powerful god of creation. In Indian mythology, people like Indra the heavenly emperor, Agni the fire god, and Varuna the water god could only be considered second class. Brahma, Asura, Vishnu, and other great gods were the real supreme gods in India. Every leader of Brahma would become a Mahabrahma. It was said that this group of people had a very high level of ancient yoga in India. Therefore, they could perform many strange sorcery. Every Mahabrahma was one of the best among them. After all, it was true that yoga could improve one's physical and mental strength. However, the orthodox ancient yoga had long been secretly preserved by India. What was circulated in the outside world was only an incomplete yoga training method. Although many people didn't believe that yoga could be so magical when it was practiced to a high level, Yang Qing knew that if one's mental strength reached a very high level, it wasn't impossible to perform some sorcery. Take the dead Noriko Okawa for example. His murderous aura had reached a certain level before he could use the demon blade Muramasa to unleash a terrifying blade of light. A genin like Hanya couldn't even unleash a single blade of light with the demon blade Muramasa. If the people of Brahma really had a strong mental strength, it was normal for them to have some strange moves. After all, Hwasya had internal martial arts. As an ancient country, India would naturally have similar things. However, Brahma had always been active in India to protect some important people. There were almost no records of them going to war abroad. He didn't expect Hwasya's construction of a nuclear aircraft carrier to have such a big impact on India. Although it wasn't necessarily India's plan, it must have been made when India couldn't bear it anymore. India's aircraft carriers were all purchased old ones. If Hwasya could successfully build a nuclear aircraft carrier, it would be a completely different strategy. Since it was India's battle plan, they naturally couldn't stop them at sea. This was because the sandstorm mercenaries would directly cross the mountains from Tibet and enter Hwasya's territory. On the other hand, it was impossible to capture them on land. If the regular army was dispatched, they would only be cannon fodder. At the same time, if they fought too fiercely, it would be inevitable that innocent civilians would be harmed. This definitely couldn't happen. The only thing they could do was to wait for them at the aircraft carrier base in Zhonghai and then fight. Yang Qing was actually quite interested in meeting this group of people who were heavily influenced by Indian religion and mythology. Moreover, if the country he was in was messed up by these people who pretended to be mysterious, he obviously wouldn't feel good about it. However, if he helped the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, it wouldn't be good for him to talk to the other countries. After thinking for a while, he said, "I can send Molin from the Sea Eagles to help you. With them around, it won't be a problem to stop a team of sandstorm mercenaries. However, I'm only responsible for protecting my Sea Eagles. The deaths of your people have nothing to do with me." Lin Jigua's lips curled into a meaningful smile. What Yang Qing meant was that he couldn't help them directly. He had to have a reason to help them. "I understand. It's already a great help for you to send the Sea Eagles." Lin Jigua's expression relaxed a lot. He smiled and said, "Then how to contact the Sea Eagles? I'm sure you've already found out. You don't have to pretend that you didn't investigate anything in front of me. I'll inform Molin tonight. You can contact him yourself." Yang Qing directly exposed Lin Jigua's intentions. Lin Jigua wasn't young either. This kind of situation wasn't awkward at all. "Young man, you're still my junior. Leave me some face. You have to fight for your face. Do something that will make me feel proud first." Yang Qing shook his head and turned to leave under the locust tree. Kai Ning waited for Yang Qing by the car in the distance for a long time. It was obvious that she planned to personally send Yang Qing back. Chapter 365. "I don't know what you're talking about?" Yang Pejuan replied calmly to Guoshuahua's question. Guoshuahua seemed to be even more convinced of her guess. She said, That day at the orphanage, when I met Yang Cheng for the first time, I felt that he looked very similar to that young man. It was as if he was an old friend of mine, but I couldn't remember who he was, so I didn't think too much about it. Today, when I went to beg him to save Lyra, I also felt a strange feeling when I saw him. I don't understand why, even though I don't know him, I feel that we have an inexplicable fate. Guoshuahua smiled sadly and said, "Only a muddle-headed mother like me can't even feel it when I'm facing my own child. When I saw you just now, it suddenly occurred to me that Yang Cheng looks very similar to you when you were young. Although your looks are different, the contours are almost the same. Your eyes, your nose bridge, they are almost exactly the same. Shuahua, you're thinking too much. It's just a coincidence," Yang Pejuan said with a complicated look in his eyes. Guoshuahua sneered. "Coincidence? Yes, it's a coincidence. His surname is Yang, and he looks very similar to you. When I first saw him, I didn't know him at all, but I felt that he looked very familiar. Oh yes, when Aunt saw him just now, she actually spoke to him as if he was her relative. What a coincidence, Aunt actually knows this young man. Also, when I begged him to treat Lyra, when I knelt down to beg him, he told me not to kneel down to him anymore." "What?" Yang Pejuan's eyes widened. "You said that you knelt down to him? How could you kneel down to your own son?" When Yang Pejuan finished his sentence in rage, he suddenly realized that this was a trap set up by Guoshuahua. As expected, Guoshuahua's eyes revealed a wisp of wild joy. Her chest rose and fell as if she had obtained a new life. Her body trembled as she looked at Yang Pejuan with tearful eyes. You finally admitted it, Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng, that child, really is my son, really is." The corners of Yang Pejuan's eyes twitched violently. With a gloomy expression, he said, "So what?" He appeared at the wrong time. Unexpectedly, Guoshuahua didn't listen to what he said after that. She only heard that the answer was yes. Guoshuahua was already immersed in ecstasy and couldn't extricate herself. Her tears gushed out like a spring. Her son, who she had been missing for more than 20 years, was actually alive and well in this world. Guoshuahua felt that all the haze in her heart had been blown away by a gentle breeze. My son, I knew. I would definitely find him." Guoshuahua wiped her tears and walked towards the door with a gratified smile. "Where are you going?" Yang Pejuan suddenly moved in front of Guoshuahua, blocking Guoshuahua from leaving the door. Guoshuahua said anxiously, "Of course I'm going to find Yang Cheng. I'm going to tell him that Mom has been looking for him for more than 20 years. I'm going to tell him immediately." "Do you think that he doesn't know that you are his mother?" Yang Pejuan asked. Guoshuahua was stunned. She thought about how Yang Cheng had asked her not to kneel down to him. Didn't he know her identity? "He knows that you are his mother and I am his father, but that kid treats us like strangers. Do you think that he will be nice to you if you go to him?" Yang Pejuan asked again. Guoshuahua clutched her chest and felt a sharp pain in her heart. But then, she bit her lips and took a deep breath. She said, "We have left him alone for more than 20 years. Of course he will hate us and refuse to acknowledge us. But this is not the same as me acknowledging him. I will let him know that my love for him has never lessened. I will use the rest of my life to make it up to him. So, whether he is willing to acknowledge me or not, I will go see him and tell him the truth." Yang Pejuan said angrily, "Ignorant! Do you know what the consequences of doing this will be? If outsiders know that our Yang family has a son out of nowhere, how will they look at us? What happened in the past will be dug up. Not only me, but you, and even Father. Our whole family. We will be humiliated. Do you know that? But aren't we the ones who caused this? Are you going to ignore your own children and pretend that they don't exist just because of your pride?" Guoshuahua screamed. Yang Pejuan said proudly, "I am doing this for the Yang family. For the glory of our family. Sacrificing a kid who has been missing for more than 20 years is nothing." Guoshuahua was so angry that she laughed. She looked at her husband, who was like a stranger to her. Yang Pejuan, how did you become like this? You weren't like this before. You told me that you would definitely bring the child home from the orphanage with me. The child was gone, and you were crying in the room. Didn't you say that you would find the child with me? Why? Why is it that the current you only thinks of doing these ridiculous things for the sake of your own position and your own power? Is it because in your eyes, the glory of the family is giving up your own children? Is it to make your wife look down on you? Slap! Yang Pejuan couldn't take it anymore and slapped Guoshuahua's right cheek. Guoshuahua was an ordinary woman. After being slapped by a military expert like Yang Pejuan, her body flew to the side. Her right cheek swelled up and she fell to the ground. Her eyes were red from crying, and they were filled with shock and confusion. She was stunned. Yang Pejuan looked at his wife's stunned and disbelieving expression. His heart ached and he regretted it. He quickly went forward to help Guoshuahua up. Shuahua, I didn't do it on purpose. Don't worry about me. Guoshuahua pushed away Yang Pejuan's hand and staggered to stand up. She touched her swollen cheeks and smiled. Yang Pejuan, I've been married to you for almost 25 years. Ever since I met you, no matter what I did or said, you've never scolded me. You've never scolded me. You've never scolded me. Today, you actually hit me to stop me from seeing my son that I've been separated from for more than 20 years? Yang Pejuan closed his eyes and calmed his emotions. He said solemnly, Shuahua, it's my fault for hitting you. But you have to know that if you acknowledge him, I will lose the election next year. Then, no one from the Yang family will be able to enter the core of the country for the next 10 years. Do you know what this means to the Yang family? Do you know how many people who rely on the Yang family will lose their support? Do you know how many people will be affected? Do you think I don't know? With father-in-law's face, so what if you can't become the vice-chairman of the military commission? His students are everywhere in the central government. Without you, the Yang family will at most stagnate, and will no longer be the top family. So what? Guoshuahua laughed coldly. You're just unwilling, aren't you? Unwilling to give up the power in your hands, unwilling to give up all these years of operation, unable to put down your old face. You! Yang Pejuan, whose face was red and white, waved his hand. He wanted to hit her again, but when he saw Guoshuahua looking at him with a smile, he couldn't bring himself to hit her. With a cold snort, Yang Pejuan turned around and opened the door. Outside the door, Guoshuahua's guards, Little One and Little Li, were already waiting. They could vaguely hear the adults arguing in the room, and they were frightened. Chief. When the two saw Yang Pejuan, they immediately greeted him respectfully. Yang Pejuan said to the two girls, Bring Madam back to the courtyard. From today onwards, without my permission, Madam is not allowed to contact the outside world, and is not allowed to leave the courtyard. If there is anyone who wants to see Madam, report to me. Without my permission, no one is allowed to see her. Yang Pejuan, you can't do this. I want to see Yang Cheng. When Guoshuahua heard that Yang Pejuan wanted to imprison her and prevent her from seeing Yang Cheng, she immediately shouted anxiously. Little One and Little Li looked at each other awkwardly and nodded. Yes. Although they were Guoshuahua's personal guards, they were also Yang Pejuan's female soldiers. As soldiers, they had to obey. Yang Pejuan turned around and looked at his wife, who was filled with resentment and unwillingness. He hesitated for a while and wanted to say something, but in the end, he just turned around indifferently and strode away. Madam, come back with us, Little One said to Guoshuahua sorrowfully. Although they didn't know why the chief wanted to treat Madam like this, they felt that no matter how pitiful Madam was, they had to follow the chief's wishes to control her. However, Guoshuahua didn't seem to hear them at all. Her legs went soft, and she sat on the ground with lifeless eyes. She muttered something, but no one could hear it clearly. Chapter 366. Sitting in the Audi driven by Kai Ning, Yang Chen could smell the clove-like fragrance emanating from Kai Ning's body. It seemed like this was the car she drove frequently. Kai Ning wasn't a talkative person. Although she wasn't as cold as Lin Ruoxi, she was still a surprisingly calm woman. Perhaps it was because she left home when she was young and learned martial arts in the Tang sect in Sichuan, but Yang Qing couldn't make heads or tails of this woman. After driving for more than 10 minutes, Kai Ning finally said, "Actually, you don't have to agree to the general. I know you don't like to participate in these things." As one of the core members of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, Kai Ning naturally knew what Lin Jiguo was thinking. The enemy this time was much stronger than expected, and the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade could be said to be fighting to the death. However, if Yang Qing really participated, everyone would have some confidence. Yang Qing smiled and said, "How do you know that I will agree?" "The general will definitely have a way to make you agree," Kai Ning said. Yang Qing looked at Kai Ning in surprise, and then said leisurely, "Do you know why I agreed to help you so many times?" Kai Ning frowned. "Is it because of Ruoxi?" Yang Qing smiled faintly. "I also thought that your general is too good at playing tricks. He thinks he is very smart and can plot against me. He thinks that he has the capital to make me help him. But the truth is, the reason why I helped you is mainly because of myself. It has been more than a year since I returned to this country. Here, there are many people I love, and there are also people who love me. I hope that their living environment will be peaceful. At the very least, I can't bring trouble to them just because of my appearance. So, I need to do my best to kill all possibilities. Then, while helping you, it can also be considered as my own selfishness. In any case, you guys are a layer of protection, aren't you?" Kai Ning nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Yang Qing thought about Choi Yun and asked, "The last time you came to my house, you didn't make it clear. What happened to Choi Yun? Why didn't I see her at your house today?" Speaking of Choi Yun, Kai Ning's expression suddenly turned cold. "You don't need to ask. In short, don't provoke my sister in the future." Yang Qing was stunned. He sighed and stopped asking. When the car passed by a street full of bars, Yang Qing remembered that he hadn't visited Qiangwei for a long time. He had been very busy these days. He had just returned from Japan and really missed her. Qiangwei was the kind of person who would only silently wait for you if you didn't meet her. Every time he thought of this, Yang Qing felt extremely ashamed. "Let's stop here. We don't have to go home immediately," Yang Qing said to Kai Ning. Kai Ning frowned. "Why?" "I have to go find my woman," Yang Qing said with a proud smile. "Your woman?" Kai Ning looked at the bars and nightclubs on both sides. She suddenly thought that it couldn't be a place Lin Ruoxi went to. She suddenly realized that she was looking for a lover. She glared at Yang Qing and said, "Get out, shameless guy." The car suddenly braked. Yang Qing looked depressed. What was going on? He wasn't going to flirt with her. After Yang Qing got out of the car and walked in the direction of Rose Bar, Kai Ning sat in the car and watched his back view go away. After a long time, Kai Ning sighed faintly and murmured to herself, "Silly sister. Is it worth it for such a man?" Yang Qing didn't know that Kai Ning had such a strange sigh. When he saw the sign of Rose Bar, he had the urge to rush in and hug Qiangwei and kiss her. Some people were like this. If you didn't have time to think about them, then nothing would happen. But once you thought about them, you would feel hot. The bar was relatively quiet in the afternoon. Yang Qing walked to the bar counter and saw Chen Rong seriously wiping the sparkling glasses. Seeing Yang Qing, Chen Rong smiled slightly. "Brother Yang, you're finally here. Big Sis has been depressed these days. Our hearts ache when we see her." Yang Qing smiled embarrassedly. "I'm a bit busy. I just came back from abroad. Is Qiangwei angry?" "Brother Yang, even if you're busy, you should call Big Sis from time to time. You know Big Sis's personality. She wouldn't call you for no reason." Chen Rong was familiar with Yang Qing and didn't care much about her words. She protested on behalf of Qiangwei. Yang Qing gloomily realized that he didn't have the habit of calling women. It seemed like he never took the initiative to call the women around him. Maybe it was because he was used to being free and easy in the past, and they all came from an extremely independent group of people, so he didn't have the thought of contacting them often. It seemed like he had to work hard to change these bad habits. He couldn't let his lovers suffer all the time. Don't change. If you change, you won't be you anymore. Suddenly, Chiang Wei's gentle and joyful voice came from the front. Yang Qing raised his head and saw Chiang Wei smiling at him. She was wearing a purple low-collared sweater and a gray Irish skirt. Chiang Wei seemed to have just done her hair. Her originally straight hair was slightly curled at the ends. She looked less heroic and more gentle and charming. Yang Qing said awkwardly, "I have to change. I can't let you suffer all the time. Besides, this isn't a good habit." Chiang Wei smiled and shook her head. "I think your habits are good, so don't change them." Why did this woman always say things that warmed his heart? If this was a way to tie a man up, Yang Qing felt that he would be willing to be tied up by her. Chen Rong, who was next to her, made an exaggerated sour expression. "Big sis, I didn't know you could say such mushy words. Why? Our Rong Rong is also happy and wants to find a man to say these kinds of words?" Chiang Wei turned around and said jokingly. Chen Rong stuck out her tongue and immediately fell silent. Yang Qing went up and grabbed Chiang Wei's delicate jade hand. He squeezed it and pulled Chiang Wei to a secluded corner of the bar. He said, "I went to Japan a few days ago and I just came back because I had something to do. That's why I haven't come to see you for a long time. You don't have to explain to me. I'm not a little girl who grabs her boyfriend and acts like a spoiled child." "I can wait," Chiang Wei said helplessly. Yang Chern smiled in distress and said, "Babe Rose, to be honest, I would feel better if you acted coquettishly to me, or hit me, scold me, or throw a tantrum or grumble at me. But I don't feel good knowing that you're always waiting here quietly for me to come and see you. That's enough. Besides, if I really miss you, I can go to the company to find you. I'm a shareholder of your company." Chiang Wei blinked and said playfully. Yang Qing patted the back of Chiang Wei's hand. He knew that it was useless to say anything else. Chiang Wei's nature was like this. It was just like how it was difficult for him to take care of women in every possible way. It was hard to change, hard to change. Suddenly, Chiang Wei's jade-like finger pointed at Yang Qing's chin. "Hubby, raise your head." Chiang Wei's bright and moist eyes stared at Yang Qing's eyes. Their eyes met. "Just like this, don't move. Let me look at you and you look at me like this. What's wrong?" Yang Qing didn't understand, but he still did as he was told. After the two of them looked at each other's faces for more than 10 seconds, Chiang Wei burst into laughter. She seemed to be very happy. "Darling, why are you smiling like a fool?" Yang Qing asked gloomily. "You're the fool." Chiang Wei giggled and said, "I read a magazine yesterday. There was an article in the magazine about a foreign couple who lived a very loving life. Outsiders asked them why they never quarreled and were so loving. Their answer was that no matter how busy they were, they would take out more than 10 seconds to look at each other every day. They persisted in this habit from marriage until they died together." Yang Qing's heart trembled slightly. When Chiang Wei quietly narrated this matter, her tone seemed to be able to melt his heart. "Although we can't look at each other every day, every time we meet in the future, you come to see me, or I go to find you, look at me for 10 seconds, okay? 10 seconds. This woman's request was only 10 seconds occasionally. Yang Qing felt the rims of his eyes getting a little hot. He didn't know if the bar's heater was turned up too high. "You silly woman, you're always waiting for me. Don't you feel wronged?" Chiang Wei calmly smiled and shook her head. "I don't feel wronged. From the moment I decided to follow you, I already thought about it, but I still decided to follow you. Hubby, do you know? Actually, it's a kind of happiness for me that you come to see me. But every time I can wait for you, waiting for you to come to see me, it's also a kind of happiness for me. Happiness is always a two-way street. You treating me well is my happiness, and me waiting for you is also my happiness. Yang Qing smiled. Yes, happiness is a two-way street. What you gain is happiness, and what you give is also happiness. Jiang Wei understood this principle, but it was a pity that most people didn't understand. Just as the two of them were lovey-dovey, a couple walked in the entrance of the bar. Before Yang Qing and Jiang Wei could look over, they heard Qin Rong shout from the bar counter, "Brother!" Chapter 367. Qin Rong's brother? Yang Qing was stunned. Wasn't that the colleague he hadn't seen for a while after leaving Yulei International, Qin Bo? Yang Qin had a vivid memory of this man who was chased by the underworld to accompany a customer. However, ever since he became an editor, he hadn't seen him again. Yang Qing and Jiang Wei stood up and looked towards the door. It was indeed Qin Bo. Qin Bo was wearing a black jacket. His hair was cut short and he looked a lot more spirited. He had also grown a beard, making him look more like a man. However, what made Yang Qin even more surprised was that by Qin Bo's side, there was actually a cute and lovable young lady wearing a red winter outfit. This woman's figure was as graceful as Jiang Wei's. Her skin was snow white and her long hair was dyed light yellow. She had a gentle Japanese style. Rong Rong. Qin Bo's voice was much louder. He didn't sound like the weak man he used to be. Although his voice was neutral, it was still a man's voice. He rubbed the back of Qin Rong's head. "Didn't you want to see your brother's girlfriend? Here she is, your future sister-in-law." Sister-in-law? Qin Bo's girlfriend? Yang Qing and Jiang Wei walked over curiously. However, when they saw Qin Bo's girlfriend, they were stunned. At that moment, Qin Rong also wore a terrified expression. Her mouth was wide open, as if she had seen something extremely shocking. The charming woman smiled gently. "Hello, I'm Chanel." "Hi, hello," Qin Rong replied in a daze. She couldn't believe that the person in front of her was the Dongxing Zhou Dongqing that she had seen at the bloody Hongmen banquet. Of course, it was Miss Chanel who killed her father, Zhou Guangyan, and said goodbye to Yang Qing. At this time, Qin Bo also saw Yang Qing with Jiang Wei. His face lit up and he laughed. "Yang Qing, you're here too? What a coincidence, I just came back from a business trip and brought my girlfriend to show my sister, and I bumped into you. And Boss Jiang Wei, thank you for taking care of my sister." Yang Qing greeted her stiffly and smiled awkwardly at Chanel. Chanel, on the other hand, was not shy or awkward at all. It was as if she was meeting Yang Qing for the first time. She said in her gentle voice, "You must be my husband's friend. Nice to meet you. Yang Qing has helped me a lot in the past. Dear, why don't we treat Yang Qing to a meal?" Qin Bo suggested. "You call the shots," Chanel said obediently. "Ugh. Not today. I have to go home for dinner later." It wasn't that Yang Qing was unwilling, but he promised Lin Ruoshi that he would go home for dinner. He couldn't go back on his word. "That's a pity. Next time, I'll give you my phone number," Qin Bo said and forced Yang Qing to enter his phone number. He even called him and recorded it down. Yang Qing looked at Qin Bo, who was acting like a successful person. He couldn't believe that this was the cowardly young man from before. Could he have changed so much in less than a year? Also, why did Chanel's voice become like a woman's? Qin Rong also realized that the development of the situation was too ridiculous. She grabbed her brother's hand and said to Chanel, "Sister. Chanel, I'm going to talk to my brother. I'll leave for a bit." "Okay, go ahead. You siblings haven't seen each other for a long time. Of course you have something to talk about," Chanel said considerately. After Qin Rong pulled Qin Bo to a corner for questioning, Chanel looked at Yang Qing and Jiang Wei with a playful expression. She said, "You're curious about what's going on, right? Mr. Yang Qing, Ms. Jiang Wei." Yang Qing smiled bitterly. Like Jiang Wei, he looked at Chanel blankly, waiting for her explanation. Chanel looked at Qin Bo, who was talking to Qin Rong not far away, and said, About half a year ago, I received a sex change operation from the best doctor in Thailand. After that, I really became a woman. I was very confused when I was overseas. Should I spend the rest of my life alone, or should I find a man who doesn't mind my past and marry him? In the end, I met Chun Bo, who was in Thailand on a business trip for a magazine. It was a coincidence that he recognized me. I was bored, so I played with him. In the end, I suddenly realized that he was a very kind man. So, I worked hard to change him into the person he is now. At the same time, we fell in love. Yang Qing knew that there were many twists and turns in the story, but he didn't ask too much. He knows about your past, and you know about his. Don't you feel awkward? Love is a very magical thing. Because of love, we got to know each other again. He's the masculine editor-in-chief Chin Bo, and I'm the little woman he keeps, Chanel. Isn't that great? Our lives should be this simple and happy, Chanel said happily. I'm a real woman now, no different from a real woman. I can even have children. Looking at Chanel's proud face, Chiang Wei couldn't help but turn her head away, trying to hold back her laughter. Yang Qing, on the other hand, felt that the world was unpredictable. He didn't expect that in less than a year, these two people would change so much. However, looking at how happy they were, Yang Qing sincerely wished them well. Not long after, it seemed like the siblings had talked a lot. Finally, Chun Bo and Chun Rong came back. Chun Rong smiled at Chanel and called her sister-in-law, which made Chanel smile shyly. After exchanging a few more words with Yang Chun, Chun Bo left the bar with Chanel, leaving behind only the backs of a loving couple. Rong, do you think it's okay? Chiang Wei asked Chun Rong. Chun Rong smiled. Brother said that he found his true love. What can I do? I can only wish him well. Yang Qing smiled at Chiang Wei. Baby Chiang Wei, we're in love too. Seeing how loving they are, don't you think we should do something to show our love? Chiang Wei blushed and rolled her eyes at Yang Qing. Didn't you say you have to go home for dinner? Yang Qing pointed at the clock on the wall. We can make it at 5. It's not even 4 yet, we still have an hour. No, I can only give you half an hour at most. 1 hour is too tiring, Chiang Wei said unhappily. That's not up to you. Yang Qing laughed. He half-hugged Chiang Wei and walked to the bedroom behind the bar. Chen Rong looked at them enviously. She mumbled to herself, they don't even know that there are people standing under the cover. About an hour later, Yang Qing came out from the back of the bar with a satisfied look. He waved goodbye to Chun Rong and rushed home for dinner. When he got home, Mother Wang and Hui Lin were moving hot dishes to the dining table outside. Seeing Yang Qing return, Hui Lin immediately asked worriedly, Brother Yang, how is it? Yang Qing smiled. How else could it be? It's cured. Phew! Hui Lin heaved a sigh of relief. I knew Brother Yang could do it. I'm sorry, I didn't know it would turn out this way. Don't say so much. It's over. Since I promised your grandma to take care of you, I can't let you be dragged away. Let's eat. Yang Qing looked around. Where's Ruashi? Did she go out? Or is she working hard upstairs again? Before Hui Lin could answer, Lin Ruashi walked out of the kitchen. She was wearing thick cotton gloves. She held a big bowl of white soup and placed it on the table. Wang Ma smiled and said, After you left, Miss insisted on cooking. She made a bowl of white fungus for you to try. It's good for your health. Young master, eat more. Lin Ruashi glanced at Mother Wang. Mother Wang, who said it was specially made for him. I just wanted to eat it myself. Yang Qing looked at the blushing Lin Ruashi with a faint smile. The woman in front of him was wearing an apron and cotton gloves. She was dressed like a housewife. Compared to the past, she was much cuter. Seeing that Yang Qing was staring at her, Lin Ruashi felt her ears burning. She pouted and said, What are you looking at? I told you it wasn't specially made for you. Don't think too much. Hurry up and eat. After she finished speaking, Lin Ruashi ran back to the kitchen like a little rabbit. Young master, Miss has such a temper. Don't mind her, Mother Wang said happily. Yang Qing nodded. He didn't say anything else. He scooped up a big bowl of white fungus and red date soup and started eating. Lin Ruoxi wasn't good at cooking, so the white fungus was a little burnt. But Yang Qing didn't care much about these things. He ate it with relish. When Lin Ruoxi sat down and the four of them started eating, half of the white fungus soup was already in Yang Qing's stomach. Lin Ruoxi was shy and happy. Seeing Yang Qing winking at her, she glared back at him. Eat, eat, eat. Who told you to eat so much? Can't you leave more for us? Yang Qing laughed. It's mainly because my wife cooks so well. Glib. Lin Ruoxi pretended to be cold. She ignored him and buried her head in eating. But why did the food in her mouth become so sweet? Did they put too much sugar in the dishes today? After dinner, Mother Wang washed the dishes in the kitchen. Lin Ruoxi and Hui Lin were watching Korean dramas together in front of the television. The dramas were filled with tears. The two women were crying and laughing at the same time. In the past, Hui Lin was on the mountain and didn't have much exposure to these dramas. Now that she had been with Lin Ruoxi for a long time, Lin Ruoxi's habit of watching Korean dramas was infected. Now, they had become very close friends. Yang Qing wanted to watch the news. He could only run upstairs and watch it in his room. He was thinking, why does my house look like a girl's dormitory? However, looking at the news, Yang Qing couldn't help but think of the time he spent with Lin Ruoxi these past 2 days. Lin Ruoxi's various behaviors kept popping up in his mind. It seemed that his wife was slowly starting to accept him and care about him. Take tonight's dinner for example. She was obviously pretending to be cold, but in fact she was overjoyed. As soon as he thought of Lin Ruoxi's perfect face and figure, Yang Qing's hormones, which he hadn't been able to get from Rose in the afternoon, became restless. Perhaps he could try a strategic field attack tonight? Ever since he got married, he had been suppressing this thought for far too long. Yang Qing waited until the sound of the television downstairs disappeared. He heard the footsteps of the two women coming up the stairs, and heard the door close twice. Only then did he sneak out of the room in his pajamas. Lin Ruoxi's room was right next to his. At this moment, Yang Qing suddenly realized that he was too tolerant. Such a stunning beauty had been sleeping next to him for more than half a year, but he didn't even try to test her. He was fully deserving of the title of Lu Xiaohui. The dark corridor was quiet. Yang Qing made sure that Mother Wang and Hui Lin wouldn't suddenly appear. Then, he walked to the door of Lin Ruoxi's room and gently turned the doorknob. To Yang Qing's surprise, Lin Ruoxi's door wasn't locked. Chapter 368. In fact, Yang Qing wasn't sure if Lin Ruoxi had the habit of locking the door to sleep, but at this moment, he wouldn't think too much about it. The most important thing was that he could, justifiably, directly open the door and enter. Gotcha! The sound of the door opening was so subtle that ordinary people wouldn't be able to hear it. Yang Qing tiptoed into the room and gently closed the door. As soon as he entered the room, his mouth and nose were filled with the fragrance of a woman. Lin Ruoxi's body had a faint fragrance similar to that of a gardenia, which made Yang Qing take a deep breath in satisfaction. Yang Qing was a little regretful. The first night they met, when he was entangled with this woman in his small rented house, how could he be muddle-headed? If he was in a clear-headed state, it would be such an enjoyable thing. But fortunately, the two of them were fated to go all the way until now, and their relationship had become a lot better. Even if it was a tiger's den, he still broke into it. Because there was no light in the room, the whole place was dark, but with Yang Qing's eyesight, even if there was a trace of light, he could roughly see the room. The whole of Lin Ruoxi's boudoir was actually filled with large pieces of soft warm colors, pink, light yellow, light blue, and also red and white with spot. There were all kinds of cartoon patterns on the bedding, bedsheets, pillows. Although the layout was similar to Yang Qing's own room, the entire color was the color that a little girl full of hazy love fantasies liked, which was completely incompatible with Lin Ruoxi's cold appearance. But thinking about it, women who liked to watch mushy Korean dramas would always have such a romantic plot. It was just that they usually had to put on a cold appearance to kill those who had thoughts about her. The tour of the room wasn't the main point. Yang Qing paid attention to whether there was anyone on the spacious double bed. After taking 2 steps closer, Yang Qing was stunned. There was no one on the bed? Before Yang Qing could figure out why Lin Ruoxi wasn't in her room, he heard footsteps coming from the corridor outside. Listening to the direction of the footsteps, they should be coming to this room. Yang Qing immediately thought that it should be Lin Ruoxi, so he walked back to his room. Of course, Yang Qing would not foolishly hide or just walk out. He had made up his mind to come in here tonight. Wasn't it because he wanted to try being a man with his real wife? Yang Qing almost instantly decided that even if Lin Ruoxi resisted, he would grit his teeth and subdue her. In any case, their feelings for each other had gradually become clearer. In the future, they should be able to let go of their reservations. Therefore, Yang Qing's figure flashed and stood at the side of the door. He quietly waited for Lin Ruoxi to open the door and come in, so he could give her a passionate hug. As the footsteps approached, Yang Qing's heartbeat sped up. Even though he had long been accustomed to the affairs between men and women and was incomparably experienced, when he thought about the magnificent feat that he might be able to accomplish tonight, he was still as excited as a little boy who had his first love. Gotcha! The door was finally opened. A delicate figure came in from the outside, one hand groping for the light switch on the wall, wanting to turn on the lights in the room. Yang Qing didn't give Lin Ruoxi a chance. Some things were much easier to do in the dark. Almost at the moment when Lin Ruoxi was about to turn on the lights, Yang Qing had already turned around quickly and went behind Lin Ruoxi. His 2 arms were like entangled vines, tightly hugging Lin Ruoxi's chest and lower abdomen. "My dear little Ruoxi, you're finally back." Yang Qing leaned close to Lin Ruoxi's ear and laughed. Lin Ruoxi's delicate body trembled violently the moment Yang Qing's figure flashed past. Obviously, she was startled. When Yang Qing's pair of arms suddenly hugged her chest and abdomen, Lin Ruoxi's body immediately stiffened, and she didn't dare to move at all. Yang Qing's left arm gently rubbed against Lin Ruoxi's chest in enjoyment, and said with a little surprise, "Hey, Ruoxi baby, your chest isn't as big as it looks, but it's very soft and very comfortable." Just as he finished speaking, Yang Qing sniffed and frowned. "That's not right. Did you spray some perfume? Why does it smell different from your previous scent?" But it doesn't matter, it also smells very good, a little orchid smell, light." Yang Qing went around Lin Ruoxi's fragrant shoulder, moved to the side of her tender cheek, and kissed the woman's sensitive earlobe. The cold and delicate touch made Yang Qing enjoy a breath of hot air. In Yang Qing's arms, Lin Ruoxi completely softened, and she was even shivering, just as Yang Qing was about to continue to rub Lin Ruoxi's soft chest. A sobbing voice said, Brother Yang, don't do this. I'm Hui Lin." When the Lin Ruoxi in his arms said this faintly, it was Yang Qing's turn to completely stiffen. "Hui Lin?" Yang Qing suddenly released his arms from Hui Lin's arms, and dodged to the side. Without Yang Qing's embrace, Hui Lin's body went limp, and she almost fell down. Fortunately, she held onto the door frame, and with one hand on her chest, she panted tenderly. Without saying anything, Yang Qing stepped forward and pressed the light switch, lighting up the room. After taking a closer look, it was indeed Hui Lin. Where was this Lin Ruoxi? At this moment, Hui Lin was only wearing a thin white cotton nightgown. Under the loose nightgown, her petite and exquisite figure exuded a youthful beauty that was completely different from Lin Ruoxi's. The poor girl, who had long been scared out of her wits, blushed, and her watery eyes were filled with spring water. She didn't even dare to raise her head to look at Yang Qing. Yang Qing looked at Hui Lin awkwardly, then looked at his left hand and clenched it. The softness that he had pinched just now was actually Hui Lin's? No wonder the size was completely wrong, and the smell was completely different from Lin Ruashi's body fragrance in the room. He must have been possessed by his sperm. He couldn't even tell such an obvious difference. Looking at Hui Lin's aggrieved and bashful expression, Yang Qing felt like killing himself. Previously, he had tried all sorts of excuses to Abbess Yun Miao, saying that he wouldn't do anything to Hui Lin, and even said in front of Hui Lin that he only treated her as his younger sister. Never did he expect that he would hug her, touch her, and most damningly, kiss her. He had taken liberties with her. Although it was just a mistake, he couldn't just let it go so easily. After a long silence, Yang Qing couldn't help but ask, Hui Lin, don't cry, let's straighten things out. Why did you come to this room? Hui Lin bit her thin lips, and the blush on her face didn't fade. She lowered her eyes and said in a soft voice, Sister came to my room and took a box of Korean drama DVDs. She wanted to watch it with me in my room. She said that she wanted to sleep at my place and talk about the plot with me. She also wanted to take a shower in my room, so I brought her a set of pajamas. Yang Qing was speechless. He looked into Lin Ruashi's room, and he wasn't sure if it was for a better rest, but Lin Ruashi's room didn't have any TV or DVDs. Hui Lin's room used to be a guest room, and it was well equipped, so it was normal for Lin Ruashi to watch it in her room. It's already so late, and you still want to watch Korean dramas? Yang Qing smiled bitterly. Hui Lin pouted. Sister specially bought the DVDs, so that we can watch it together after we finish watching it on TV. Yang Qing cursed the damn TV station in his heart. Can't you just finish it already? My woman can't take it anymore and started to buy DVDs to watch it. Also, are Korean dramas that good? So bad that Lin Ruashi didn't even have the time to walk away to grab a set of pajamas? But this wasn't the main problem at hand. The main problem was how to explain to Hui Lin all these stupid things that he had done. Hui Lin, don't be angry, I know. Hui Lin didn't let Yang Qing continue and said, I know that Brother Yang treats me as your sister, I'm fine. Yang Qing felt even more apologetic when he heard Hui Lin's words, but since he had already done it, he couldn't just pretend that nothing had happened. Wouldn't that make him a hooligan? Why don't we do this? Yang Qing thought for a while and said, Hui Lin, slap me and call me a hooligan, bastard or something like that. This way you can treat it as if I did something bad to you, and you slapped me. Hui Lin's heart was pounding, full of shyness and grievance, but after hearing Yang Qing's suggestion, she couldn't help but giggle. She looked at Yang Qing reproachfully. Brother Yang, what kind of lousy idea is this? I won't do that. I'm not blaming you, you didn't do it on purpose. If it wasn't on purpose, then it would be depressing. Yang Qing screamed in his heart. Why am I so unlucky? It wasn't easy for me to muster up the courage to have sex in the middle of the night, but instead of my wife, I touched my sister-in-law. But what made Yang Qing even more depressed was not over yet. Just as he was talking to Hui Lin, Lin Ruashi, who had been waiting in Hui Lin's room for a while and didn't see Hui Lin return, felt that something was wrong. She thought that Hui Lin couldn't find the place where she put her pajamas, or there was some other problem. After pausing the show, she finally walked away from the TV with difficulty and walked back to her room. Yang Qing and Hui Lin heard Lin Ruashi's footsteps as she walked back to her room, but at the same time, they couldn't do anything about it. Yang Qing wouldn't break the glass and jump down from the window just because of this, but there was nothing he could hide in Lin Ruashi's room. Therefore, when Lin Ruashi walked to the door of the room, she looked up and saw Yang Qing, who had a strange expression on his face, and Hui Lin, who looked panicked and flushed. Lin Ruashi was slightly confused at first, but when she saw the unusual expression on Hui Lin's face, she smelled something else. Why are you here? Lin Ruashi frowned and asked Yang Qing. Yang Qing wanted to explain, but he couldn't think of a reason. There was no reason for him to come to Lin Ruashi's room. Sure enough, Lin Ruashi didn't expect Yang Qing to explain anything to her. Her pair of beautiful eyes gradually became like a 1,000-year cold lake, making Yang Qing's scalp go numb and his bones turn cold. Why? Can't you explain? Lin Ruoshi sneered and asked. Yang Qing held it in for a long time, and then he smiled embarrassedly and said, "We're husband and wife. Hee, your husband just wanted to see how you were sleeping. That's not too much, right?" Lin Ruoshi seemed to have guessed that Yang Qing would use their relationship as a husband and wife to explain. She asked again, "What about Hui Lin? Don't tell me that when you looked at Hui Lin's ears turned red?" Hui Lin's head was almost buried in her chest. She quietly moved behind Lin Ruoshi and didn't dare to say a word. Yang Qing scratched his head. He really didn't know how to explain. He wasn't a soft persimmon that could be pinched by anyone. Therefore, he let go of his courage and said loudly, "To tell you the truth, your husband wanted to force himself on you tonight. But the bow wasn't here, and I accidentally thought that the crossbow was a bow and touched it. But don't worry, I didn't shoot an arrow, so the crossbow is still a crossbow. Don't be angry at the bow." If others heard this, they would definitely be confused. But Lin Ruoshi was a smart woman. Combining Hui Lin's expression and Yang Qing's character, how could she not understand what was going on? Lin Ruoshi was infuriated when she saw Yang Qing's shameless face, as if he didn't care even if she hit or scolded him. Force himself on me? Does this guy only know how to think of such crooked ways? She had already taken the initiative to be nice to him. Couldn't he use a more open and honest way to communicate with her? What kind of husband would sneak into his wife's bed in the middle of the night and force himself on her? In fact, it was reasonable for Lin Ruoshi to think that way. But she neglected the pressure she was giving Yang Qing. They had been married for more than half a year. She had always been cold to Yang Qing and didn't give him any chance to get close to her. How would Yang Qing dare to go against her? Therefore, taking an unconventional approach became Yang Qing's way of thinking. He didn't even consider that Lin Ruoshi would agree to sleep with him. What was worse was that Yang Qing's plan changed completely because of Hui Lin's appearance. Lin Ruoshi treated Hui Lin as her younger sister. Now that her younger sister had a vague relationship with her husband, how could Lin Ruoshi not be angry? "Get out. Don't ever come to my room again." Lin Ruoshi suppressed her anger and said coldly and expressionlessly. Yang Qing could tell that Lin Ruoshi was really angry. He regretted speaking so rudely. Even if that was what he really thought, he should have been more tactful. "Ruoshi, get out!" Lin Ruoshi glared at Yang Qing. She was so angry that her shoulders were trembling. Yang Qing was helpless. He knew that he could only talk to her after she calmed down. Otherwise, it would be useless. Yang Qing walked back to his room dejectedly, leaving Lin Ruoshi and Hui Lin standing at the door. The two women didn't speak for a long time. Finally, Hui Lin said meekly, "Sister, I'm sorry." Lin Ruoshi closed her eyes and said, "You don't have to be like this. I know it's not your fault." "Actually, all right, you don't have to explain. I really don't blame you. I'm a little tired and I want to rest early. You should go and sleep too," Lin Ruoshi said and walked to her bed. She started to spread her blanket. Hui Lin was surprised. She wanted to ask Lin Ruoshi if she still wanted to watch Korean dramas. But on second thought, she knew that Lin Ruoshi wouldn't be in the mood. With complicated bitterness in her heart, Hui Lin said, "Good night, sister." Then, she went back to her room to rest. After Hui Lin left, Lin Ruoshi collapsed on the bed. She looked at the ceiling and muttered to herself, "Lin Ruoshi, even I'm starting to hate you." Chapter 369. After the farcical experience, Yang Qing didn't dare to look at Lin Ruoshi's expression the next morning. It wasn't that Yang Qing was shy, but he felt that what he did was rather childish. Not only was it childish, he even failed. He was so embarrassed. Lin Ruoshi acted as though nothing had happened as she continued to chew on her food. That was the only good thing about being an iceberg. You couldn't tell if she was happy, angry, sad, or joyful at all. The most depressed and nervous person was Hui Lin. Sandwiched between the two of them, she didn't know what to do. Last night, Yang Qing touched her body and kissed her earlobe. Hui Lin's body was burning hot and her heart was itching. She couldn't sleep for the whole night. Ever since she was young, she had been brought up by Abbess Yun Miao. She had planned to be a nun for the rest of her life. Who knew that her grandma would force her into this family and force her to get close to Yang Qing to consummate her marriage? Initially, when Hui Lin saw the complicated relationship between Yang Qing and Lin Ruoxi, she felt that it was better for her to stay out of it. But now, it was hard for her to stay out of it even if she wanted to. Hui Lin knew that even though she said that she didn't mind, she still cared a lot about it. After all, she grew up with a traditional education. In the past, she hadn't even let a man touch her finger. But last night she was kissed, hugged, and touched. How could Hui Lin say that she didn't care? But that man was her brother-in-law. The troubled Hui Lin didn't eat much porridge in the morning. She put down her bowl and chopsticks. She didn't have any appetite. Mother Wang asked concernedly, "Hui Lin, are you feeling unwell? Why did you eat so little?" Hui Lin shook her head. "No, Mother Wang, I'm just not hungry. I'm fine." "Oh," Mother Wang nodded doubtfully. She probably knew that young people always had all kinds of troubles, so she didn't ask further. Just when Hui Lin's body felt stiff and uncomfortable sitting on the chair, the doorbell rang. "I'll drive it." As if she had found a way out, Hui Lin immediately ran to open the door for the guest. Yang Qing and Lin Ruoxi looked at each other and saw that Lin Ruoxi's eyes were as cold as frost. Yang Qing rubbed his nose. He felt that it was better not to look at this woman in the eye. It would take at least a week for him to thaw a little. "Who is it? Why are you here so early in the morning?" Mother Wang asked in confusion. Yang Qing shrugged and casually said, "Who knows, it might be someone coming to pay a New Year's greeting." Hui Lin opened the door gently. She had a relaxed smile on her face, but when she saw the person standing at the door, the smile on Hui Lin's face immediately disappeared. Her mouth was wide open and her eyes were filled with disbelief. There were two old people standing outside the door. To be precise, it was an old man and an old lady who looked like a servant. The old man was wearing a thick vermilion tang suit, a pair of black coarse pants, and a pair of black and white handmade cloth shoes. His grayish-white hair was neatly combed at the back of his head. There were many age spots and amiable wrinkles on his face. His body seemed to be a little crooked, or perhaps he wasn't tall to begin with. He looked thin and petite. The old lady behind him was wearing a gray cotton gown that looked like it was from the era of the Republic of China. She looked amiable and her hair was all white, but she seemed to be in good spirits. When the old man saw Hui Lin, it was as if he had seen his own granddaughter. He smiled and more wrinkles appeared on his face. He looked at Hui Lin kindly and asked, "You're the last from the Lin family, right? You're already so big." Hui Lin was finally sure that she didn't recognize the wrong person. She quickly took 3 steps back and bowed solemnly and excitedly. She bowed at 90 degrees twice. "Chairman, nice to meet you." Hui Lin's strange behavior immediately attracted the attention of the other 3 people in the room. Why did she suddenly bow? Who was it? The old man waved his hand and said warmly, "I quit that job a long time ago. Don't be like this. I'm here early in the morning. Did I disturb your breakfast?" "Yes, I did." "Oh no, I didn't." Hui Lin almost told the truth. Her face turned red and she was so anxious that she didn't know what to say. The old man chuckled, "Don't be nervous. I'm not a man-eating old monster." Hui Lin thought to herself, how can I not be nervous? Even though he had never seen his grandmother more than 3 times since he was young, he would never dare to forget the face of this old lady. This was one of the founders of Huaxia, the descendant of the founding fathers of the country. Even though Hui Lin had been practicing martial arts in Amei and rarely returned to Beijing, she could tell how powerful this old man was just by listening to Abbess Yun Miao's occasional stories. In the Politburo of the Central Committee, Other than the chairman, almost everyone had some sort of relationship with this old man, not to mention the other provincial level and ministerial level officials. Perhaps 1 out of 3 ministerial level officials would be willing to address this old man as master. Even though the Lin family was a big family with a long history in Beijing, compared to this old man who had pushed them to the top, they could only be considered as second-rate. If it wasn't for the era when this old man could summon the wind and summon the rain, internet media had not yet developed and television was considered a rarity in Huaxia, this old man's limelight would definitely be as eye-catching as the great men of the century. Unfortunately, the era was different. So after this old man retired, almost no young people could remember this person. Even if they did, they could only vaguely remember his silhouette. After all, Hui Lin wasn't some otherworldly expert. She was just a greenhorn and naive little girl. Of course, she was shocked and scared when she saw the real mastermind of the country. Even though your grandfather and I are quite different in age, we can be considered as peers. If you don't think it's appropriate to call me anything else, just call me Grandpa Yang. Yang Gongming smiled when he saw that Hui Lin didn't know what to say. Hui Lin replied softly, "Yes, Grandpa Yang." Regarding Yang Gongming's sudden arrival, Hui Lin thought that he was here to speak up for his grandson, Yang Lai. So, she looked at Yang Qing worriedly. Unexpectedly, Yang Gongming walked towards Yang Chen with a smile on his face. Using a slow and gentle tone, he said, "Young man, you don't have to look at me like that. Let's eat breakfast. I was in a hurry and I always wake up early, so I came here early. If you have any questions, let's talk after breakfast." Yang Cheng's hearing was very good. He had heard Hui Lin calling him chairman. After thinking about it carefully, he realized that with Hui Lin's position as the granddaughter of the Lin family, the only person who needed to bow and call her chairman was the chairman of the National People's Congress in Huaxia. This position was similar to the Speaker of the United States Congress. Although it was not as prominent as the President or the Prime Minister, it was often the key to the overall situation and the formulation of national policies. However, although Yang Qing had seen the news, he had never seen this old man. He must be the old chairman who had retired. Facing such an old man who was a national leader and called himself Grandpa Yang, how could Yang Qing not know who this old man was? Looking at the old man who had a face full of vicissitudes of life, and was leisurely looking at the decorations of the villa with a smile, Yang Qing smiled bitterly. There was nowhere to hide. He had thought that it was a joke to have a father who was a military commander, but his father was a national leader. He had not seen any of his relatives for the past 20 years. It had only been a year since he returned to China. Why were there so many big shots related to him? When Lin Ruoxi saw Yang Gongming, she was confused for a while. Then, she recognized who this old man was, not to mention Mother Wang, who was much older than her. Mother Wang, who was a little timid, had lost her appetite. She looked around and didn't know what to say. She just gave an excuse that she was going to the kitchen to boil water, and ran away. Lin Ruoxi thought for a moment. She knew where Yang Gongming came from. Thinking about the incident with Yang Lai a few days ago and Yang Cheng's reaction, Lin Ruoxi vaguely felt that this big shot should have a great relationship with Yang Cheng. However, the more she thought about it, the more unbelievable Lin Ruoxi felt. Both of them had the surname Yang. Could it be that such a man was a member of the top family in Huaxia after the founding of the country? Was this a joke? If it was true, wouldn't he be the legendary crown prince? Lin Ruoxi frowned and secretly looked at Yang Qing. He was not much different from when he was selling mutton skewers. Chapter 370. The next meal was tasteless. Yang Qing finished the big bowl of porridge. Lin Ruoxi ate a few mouthfuls and put down her bowl and chopsticks like Hui Lin. Mother Wang cleaned up the things on the table like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds, but directly pushed the task of making tea to Hui Lin. Mother Wang probably didn't dare to make tea in front of such a person. What made Mother Wang even more puzzled was why such a person came to her house for no reason. Could it be that Lin Ruoshi's business was so big that even the country's leader had to come to visit? Yang Gongming was staring at an oil painting by a famous painter that Lin Ruoshi bought. When the old woman saw Yang Qing and the others were waiting for him, she urged, "Master, it's finished." Yang Gongming turned around with a smile and pointed at the oil painting on the wall. He said to Lin Ruoshi with a smile, "This Westerner's painting looks good, but I think it's not as realistic as a photo." Lin Ruoshi didn't know how to respond. Say that he doesn't have artistic talent? Do you want to die? Say that I'm right? She felt uncomfortable, so she just said, Yang Gongming didn't mind. He turned to Yang Qing and said, "Yang Qing, you gave yourself this name, right?" Yang Qing nodded lightly. "It's just a code name. It doesn't matter what my surname or name is." "Young man, you can't say that. We can't forget our root. Just like loving our country, we have to love ourselves first, then love our family second. If we can be casual about our roots, then what else can we not be casual about?" Yang Gongming said gently. Yang Qing suddenly felt as if he had punched cotton. The old man's words were very gentle, and he had a smile on his face. As the saying goes, you don't hit a smiling person. Since the old man was talking to you in such a gentle voice, it would be inappropriate for you to fight him head-on. Besides, it would be inappropriate to bully an old man. "You're not here to talk about my name, are you?" Yang Qing could only try his best to get to the point and finish the conversation as soon as possible. Yang Gongming nodded. "I have something urgent to discuss, but I want to find a quiet place to talk about it. Is that okay? There's nothing to hide. If you want to say it, then say it. If you don't want to say it, then forget it," Yang Qing said impatiently. "Yang Qing, you can't say that." Lin Ruoshi frowned and glared at Yang Qing. This guy was too rude. Regardless of whether the other party was someone she didn't want to see, he was still an elder. Moreover, he used a tone of discussion and consultation. How could he speak so rudely? "Elder Yang, if you don't mind, how about we go to my study?" Lin Ruoshi suggested. Yang Qing also knew that his tone was a bit harsh. Seeing that Lin Ruoshi took the initiative to ease the atmosphere, he didn't say anything else. Yang Gongming didn't get angry. He happily nodded and said, "Thank you, little girl." Lin Ruoshi stood up and took the initiative to make a gesture of invitation. She brought Yang Gongming and the old woman to the second floor. Before going upstairs, Lin Ruoshi looked at Yang Qing with dissatisfaction. The meaning was obvious. "Come up with me." Yang Qing felt a strange feeling in his heart. Usually, she rarely asked about his affairs, and was not the kind of woman who liked to meddle in other people's affairs. But today, why was Lin Ruoshi so concerned about the matter between him and the old man? Was it because of the old man's noble identity? In fact, Lin Ruoshi herself was a little strange about this question. She just felt that in front of this old man she should perform better. It was just this feeling. Yang Qing saw that Lin Ruoshi had brought Yang Gongming up. He knew that it wouldn't be good if he didn't go up, so he slowly walked upstairs. Hui Lin was downstairs. Just when she was about to make tea for Yang Gongming, she saw that the four people had already gone upstairs. She was startled and extremely anxious. At the door of the study room, Lin Ruoshi opened the door for Yang Gongming. Yang Gongming smiled and said, "Thank you," then entered the study room with the old woman. What made Lin Ruoshi feel shy and blushed was that before the kind old woman entered the study room, she actually said with a smile, "Little girl, you look so pretty." Although it was a kind of doting praise from an old woman to a child, Lin Ruoshi, who hadn't felt this kind of treatment for many years, was still not used to it. Then Yang Qing also entered the study room. Seeing this, Lin Ruoshi planned to close the door and go downstairs. However, just when she was about to leave, she was stopped by Yang Gongming, who was in the study room. "Ruoshi, come in too. You are also qualified to listen to these things." Lin Ruoshi's delicate body trembled slightly. Yang Gongming actually knew who she was? Qualified to listen? What did he mean? Could it be that Yang Qing was really? With a little perturbed, Lin Ruoxi hesitated for a moment, then nodded and walked into the study room, closing the door. All of a sudden, the study room became quiet. A few rays of morning sunlight shone in through the window shutters, warming up the room and dispersing some of the dullness. Yang Gongming looked around, looked at the dazzling array of books, and said with a smile, "Ruoxi, these books are all read by you?" Lin Ruoxi replied softly, "Yes. That's right. Although the ancients said that a woman without talent is a virtue, a cultured woman will always be more reasonable. Especially if you want to take care of the affairs of a big family, you can't do it without knowledge. This is a good thing." Yang Gongming looked at Yang Qing with some gratification and said, "Yang Qing, grandfather is very satisfied with the wife you have married." "Grandfather?" Lin Ruoxi's pair of watery eyes instantly widened to the maximum. Her brain almost lacked oxygen. She stiffly turned her head and looked at Yang Qing, who didn't say a word. Yang Qing frowned. He really didn't expect that Yang Gongming would so casually say that they were related by blood. "I didn't say that I have a grandfather. I think, old man, you have mistaken me for someone else." At this point, Yang Chen's heart calmed down. With a faint smile on his lips, he replied. Yang Gongming didn't mind, as if he didn't hear Yang Cheng's words. A few thoughts flashed in his eyes, and his tone was a little erratic as he said, "The winter more than 20 years ago was around this time. My son, Yang Pejuan, and my daughter-in-law, Guoxuahua, who hadn't married yet, gave birth to a grandson of mine. However, both of them hid it from me, because this child was conceived before my daughter-in-law married into the family. They thought that I didn't know, but in fact I already knew. Fortunately, they didn't abort the child. If they had done that, I would definitely have stopped them. Since God had decided to let the child be born, he shouldn't have been killed. Even if he hadn't been born yet, he was still a life of the Yang family, my grandson or granddaughter. Unfortunately, I was at an important juncture in the election for the chairman of the National People's Congress. All the members of the Yang family, including the branches of the main family, added up to more than 100 men, women, old and young, were waiting for me to take the position to consolidate the family's position. At that time, it was the era when the Huaxia family developed the fastest. Anyone who took the position was equivalent to the absolute prosperity of the family. And if I had lost the election, as the Yang family, which had a deep foundation, many state-owned enterprises and local officials that were connected to our family would have been suppressed, and even eaten up. At that time, I didn't have the leisure to care about the secret birth of my grandson. In fact, I was very clear that giving birth to a child out of wedlock was a scandal for a family like ours in that era. My son and daughter-in-law were also very clear about that, so they placed my grandson in an orphanage. They planned to bring the child back after I was done with the election. As Yang Gongming slowly narrated, Yang Cheng's face became gloomy. Lin Ruoxi finally understood the truth of the matter. From the initial shock, she gradually looked at Yang Cheng with a gentle gaze. So, he had such a rough life? Later, I didn't disappoint them. With the help of so many students and colleagues, I helped the Yang family to establish a stable foundation in Yanjin. I remember that on the day I was elected, the first thing that came to my mind was to think of a way to bring our grandson back. If it wasn't for the little guy suffering in the orphanage, how could his grandfather be elected? But when my son and daughter-in-law went to the orphanage again, they found that it had been demolished. The group of children had also disappeared. Not to mention our little fellow who was only a few months old. There was some sadness in Yang Gongming's eyes. What happened that year was still vivid in his mind, but it made this old man sigh at night. Hearing this, the old woman next to Yang Gongming also looked sad and silently wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. Lin Ruoxi looked at the expressionless Yang Qing next to her. It turned out that he really didn't have parents since he was a child. He lost all his relatives when he was still a baby. How did he grow up? At the same time, Lin Ruoxi finally understood why Yang Qing said to Guoxiuhua that day, "Don't ever beg me." She also understood the real reason why he didn't kill Yang Lai. It seemed that Yang Qing knew all this. Do you think it's useful to say this? From the beginning of my memory, I don't have any so-called relatives in my world. Just like my personal record in the police station, I forgot everything before I was 5 years old. Whether I was adopted or sold, I only have a surname that I don't know who told me. After I was 5 years old, I went abroad. Until now, I can stand here. I don't know how I survived. Yang Qing laughed at himself. Sun Wukong still knows that he was born from a stone. When I become inhuman, who can tell me where I came from in this world? Let's not talk about the pain of the body. Do you know how it feels when you don't even know who you are? Your so-called sadness is nothing. Yang Gongming was speechless. He looked at Yang Qing and was silent. Lin Ruoxi's eyes reddened. At this moment, Yang Chen's usual carefree aura was nowhere to be found. It was as if his entire body was covered by a desolate desert, lifeless and hopeless. My heart is very tired. I don't want to take revenge on anyone, but I hope you don't disturb my life. I just want to live in peace and let the outside world have nothing to do with me. After Yang Qing finished, he turned around and walked out of the study room. Wait! Yang Gongming suddenly shouted. Yang Qing's footsteps stopped. He was about to turn around, but he heard a deep vibration coming from the floor. This sound? Yang Qing suddenly opened his eyes wide. He turned around and saw Yang Gongming kneeling on the floor with a serious face. Not only Yang Qing, but even Lin Ruoxi and the old woman's face changed. Whether it was an elder or a leader, Yang Gongming kneeling to his grandson was definitely challenging their psychological endurance. Chapter 371. Yang Gongming looked at Yang Qing, who was also shocked, and laughed generously. Don't think that I, an old man, am shamelessly kneeling to you. I am kneeling to you now, not your grandfather, not your elder, and not some retired old cadre. I am kneeling to you on behalf of the hundreds of Yang family members who were saved because of your sacrifice. This is what the Yang family owes you. Although I can't redeem anything by kneeling alone, I hope that I can be at ease. After saying that, Yang Gongming stood up slowly and puffed out his chest. He didn't feel that kneeling was shameful at all. Instead, he looked relaxed. Do you think that I will acknowledge you just like that? Yang Qing couldn't help but laugh. Yang Gongming shook his head and said solemnly, I don't expect you to acknowledge us just because I kneel. I have already said that as your grandfather, as your elder, I have never thought that I need to kneel to you. No matter how guilty I feel, there is no reason for me to kneel to my grandson. Similarly, let me say something that may be a little extreme, but I think it is right. As a parent, you never have to feel sorry for your children, because without parents there would be no children. Although your parents didn't raise you, they gave birth to you. No matter how much pain you had to endure, the grace of giving birth to you cannot be erased. Moreover, their original intention was not for you to suffer in this world. Even making up their mind to give birth to you at that time was a great risk. You can hate them, but you can't deny that they are your parents, and you can't deny that they gave you life. Yang Qing didn't say anything. He tried to refute, but he realized that he really couldn't find any reason to refute Yang Gongming's words. Perhaps he really hadn't completely cut off his feelings for his family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have told Guoxiuhua not to ask him to do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have shown mercy to Yang Lai. Yang Qing knew very well that although he was called a god in the outside world, he was actually just a human. He could only do some things that ordinary people couldn't do, but he also had the 7 emotions and 6 desires of a human. He was still very young. Although he had experienced many things and his heart had become a little old, there were still many things that he was not very mature about emotionally. I will love others, and I will enjoy the love of others. Similarly, I will hate and be angry. He had once taught Tang Tang not to take the conflict between mother and daughter too seriously. Being a mother and being a child was a great destiny. In the vast world, in the untainted universe, her pain and frustrations were actually nothing. However, people always contradict themselves. Educating Tang Tang was one thing, but how could his own situation be as simple as a quarrel between parents and children? Yang Gongming seemed to have finished what he wanted to say. He signaled the old woman behind him, and was about to walk out of the room. When he walked past Lin Ruoxi, Yang Gongming said with a smile, "Ruoxi, I'm sorry to have startled you." "No. It's okay." Lin Ruoxi also didn't know what to call Yang Gongming. Logically speaking, she and Yang Qing were husband and wife. In fact, she should open her mouth to call him grandpa, but she couldn't, so it was a little stiff. Yang Gongming turned around and said to Yang Qing with a look of pity, "Your mother already knows that you are her son. She has been looking for you for more than 20 years and set up so many orphanages to make up for the regret in her heart. In fact, as a father-in-law, I feel sorry for her. She really wants to see you, but because of some reasons, she was locked in the courtyard by Pajuan and can't come out. Although I am Pajuan's father, I never ask too much about their affairs. If it's convenient for you, I hope that you can go and let that poor woman see you. Of course, this is only the wish of an old woman. I know that for you, it may be a painful thing to see them, so I won't force you." After that, Yang Gongming and the old woman left the study together and walked downstairs. It wasn't until they heard the voices of Mother Wang and Hui Lin saying goodbye to Yang Gongming that Yang Qing, who was in the study, slowly turned around. Lin Ruoxi looked at the expressionless Yang Qing. She wanted to say something to ease the atmosphere or comfort Yang Qing, but she didn't know what to say. In the end, the two of them just stood there in silence. After a while, Yang Chen's lips curled into a faint smile. He pouted at Lin Ruoxi and said, "Hey, babe, don't you have anything to say to your husband?" Seeing that Yang Qing was pretending to be relaxed, Lin Ruoxi didn't look at him coldly like before. She asked seriously, "What are you going to do?" "What do you mean?" Yang Qing asked. "Just now, old Master Yang said that Ms. Guo was locked up by Commander Yang. Are you?" Lin Ruoxi didn't finish her sentence. She was afraid that it would make Yang Qing angry. For some reason, the more Yang Qing seemed to be fine, the more she felt that Yang Qing at this moment was terrifying. It was too abnormal. Yang Qing slowly walked to Lin Ruoxi's office chair and sat down. Stretching his waist lazily, he said, "I thought you were going to say something else. Dear, I didn't expect your husband's background to be at the level of a prince's clique. Don't you think you've made a profit from your risky investment?" Yang Qing winked at Lin Ruoxi. Lin Ruoxi ignored his joke. "Yang Qing, don't be like this, okay? I know you must be very sad. What do you know?" Yang Qing suddenly sat up from his seat. He pounced on Lin Ruoxi and pressed her against the wall behind her. Lin Ruoxi's beautiful face turned pale. She felt that Yang Qing was like a beast, pressing her against the wall behind her. Yang Qing's face was enlarged in front of her eyes. It was the first time he looked so ferocious, so violent. His eyes were flowing with a faint scarlet color, filled with rage. Yang Qing's hands were like iron walls. They pressed against Lin Ruoxi's shoulders. His hot breath sprayed on Lin Ruoxi's face. The terrifying aura made Lin Ruoxi feel as if a huge rock was pressing on her chest, making it difficult for her to breathe. But Lin Ruoxi bit her lower lip. She used all the strength in her body to open her eyes. She looked at Yang Qing, not to be outdone. Looking at the unyielding beauty in front of him, Yang Qing sneered. "Woman, do you know what it's like to eat dead people's flesh? Let me tell you. It's almost the same as eating raw rat meat. Oh right, you definitely won't have the chance to eat rat. Then do you know what it's like to pretend to be dead for 3 days and 3 nights in a pile of smelly corpses? Let me tell you. There are maggots and some earthworm-like worms. They are several times longer than earthworms. They will drill into your nose and come out from your ears. Do you know what it's like to have more than 10 kinds of biochemical drugs poured into your body and be used as a lab rat for experiments? Let me tell you, it's like having countless knives scraping your flesh. Moreover, it will be scraping continuously for a week or even half a month. Do you know? Yang Qing couldn't continue. Lin Ruoxi, whose eyes were bloodshot, suddenly kissed Yang Qing's lips. Yang Qing only felt two cold and soft lips emitting the fragrance of jasmine. It blocked all his words in a jerky and domineering manner. He was forcefully kissed by this woman? Lin Ruoxi's eyes were still open. Their eyes met, their lips touched, and the tips of their noses rubbed together. Lin Ruoxi's breathing was very hurried, showing the tumbling and nervousness in her heart. The sweet smell fermented crazily in an instant, intoxicating Yang Qing. But immediately after, Yang Qing could clearly see that Lin Ruoxi's eyes gradually became moist and moist. Moist and moist gathered and became moist. Finally, 2 lines of clear tears flowed down. Because Lin Ruoxi kissed too hard, their cheeks were also tightly pressed together, not leaving a single gap. Yang Qing could feel that Lin Ruoxi's tears were actually boiling hot between their cheeks. After a long time, when Yang Qing had already forgotten the time and where he was, Lin Ruoxi slowly moved her flowery lips away. She was as serious as ever. She was as cold as ice as she quietly looked at Yang Qing. I know it's hard for you, and I've suffered the same. When I racked my brains and abandoned my own life, I became a venomous scorpion that protected everything my grandmother left behind. However, that man never fulfilled his responsibilities as a father. He spent his days drinking and having fun outside. He contacted outsiders to bully me, humiliate me, and even beat me. I wanted to die. I wanted to die with him. I thought of all the ways to make him disappear or free me from this. Even when he was crazy, I didn't feel sorry for him. I even thought that he was crazy, and it was already too easy for him. But when you told me that he died in the madhouse, I despised myself and was sad. That night, I even prayed insanely that he wouldn't have a hard time in the other world. Lin Ruoxi pursed her lips and said with tears in her eyes, "It was you who gave me the chance to be myself, so I hope that you won't be like me in the past, waiting for that person to die and regret not going to see him when he was still alive. Although he was crazy, it doesn't matter if he doesn't know me. As long as I can go and see him, I won't be so sad. Even if you can't accept that person in your heart, in this world, a husband and wife can divorce, friends can meet and break up, colleagues can change. Only parents and children, in life and death." Yang Qing's eyes gradually became clear. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, Yang Qing's expression gradually calmed down. Immediately, Yang Qing smiled and muttered to himself, "No wonder the old man said that it's a good thing for a woman to read more." Lin Ruoxi didn't hear clearly what Yang Qing said. She blinked her big eyes in confusion, but she was confused. "Tsk." Suddenly, Yang Qing kissed Lin Ruoxi's left cheek with lightning speed. Lin Ruoxi exclaimed in surprise. Her left cheek felt like it was being sucked by a suction cup. "It's so tender, just like my lips." Yang Qing gasped in admiration. He smacked his lips and laughed out loud. He moved his body away from Lin Ruoxi and turned around to leave the study room. Lin Ruoxi was embarrassed, annoyed, and a little happy. Seeing that Yang Qing just left, she asked loudly with worry, "Where are you going?" Yang Qing waved his hand behind him. "Your husband, I'm going to make up for your regret." Chapter 372. It didn't matter if it was a reunion or if they couldn't continue their relationship as mother and son. Yang Qing felt that Lin Ruoxi was right. If he didn't meet her at least once, he might never see that woman again in this life. Yang Qing couldn't deny the struggle in his heart. Since this was the case, he should do what he should do calmly instead of pretending to be cold and ignoring the Yang family. However, according to Yang Gongming, Guoshuahua had been grounded by Yang Pejuan, and the location was Yang Pejuan's military compound in Zhonghai. Let's not think about why Yang Pejuan stopped Guoshuahua from seeing him. Yang Qing didn't know the place, and it was not a place he could enter easily. The residence of the commander-in-chief of the military was definitely a national defense site with many checkpoints. Therefore, before leaving, Yang Qing asked the Sea Eagles to help him find the address of Yang Pejuan's military compound, and then sent it to the navigation system in his car through the satellite. After driving for nearly an hour, Yang Qing finally arrived at the location marked on the navigation map. It was a suburb that was relatively close to the hilly area in the southwest of Zhonghai. As far as the eye could see, other than a few tall communication towers, there were endless hills. It was winter, and the mountains were yellow and withered. The vegetation was growing, and the field of vision was much wider. Yang Chen slowed down his driving speed and searched around carefully. He found a residential area guarded by soldiers. The whole area was a bungalow that was slightly antique in design, and the green and gray color looked simple and elegant. It was located at the foot of the mountain, and the surroundings seemed a bit barren. Outside the towering walls, there were several rows of military jeeps and some transport trucks. Yang Qing drove the car to the parking lot outside the compound. He got out of the car and looked at the buildings that occupied an area that was much larger than it looked from afar. Yang Qing guessed that there should be a lot of soldiers inside. Be it technical personnel or armed personnel, many of them should be working or on duty here. Otherwise, who would live in so many houses? Walking to the entrance of the courtyard, two valiant and high-spirited stone lions were placed on both sides of the vermilion gate. Behind two jade-green luohan pines were two soldiers in thick military uniforms. Seeing Yang Qing casually walk to the door, two soldiers expressionlessly stood in front of Yang Qing. "Stop, who are you?" A soldier with a square face shouted. Yang Qing smiled. "I'm looking for your commander, and I'm here to meet someone. Is the bureau chief someone anyone can see? You can go in, but show me your pass," the soldier said solemnly. Yang Qing frowned. Pass? How could he have such a thing? Did no one tell him? That old man Yang, he told me to take a look, but he didn't even give me a pass. How am I supposed to go in? Should I climb over the wall? Climbing over the wall is equivalent to breaking in. Wouldn't I have to fight with the soldiers inside by force? Although I'm not afraid, it's not worth it to fly in a hail of bullets, right? Without a pass, no one can enter. Yang Qing curled his lips and thought for a long time. He reached into his pocket and took out a pack of cheap cigarettes that cost 2 yuan. He looked at it reluctantly and put it in front of the two soldiers with a smile. "Bro, do me a favor and I'll let you smoke these 2 cigarettes, okay?" The two soldiers looked at each other and saw the same message in each other's eyes. Is there something wrong with this guy's brain? Don't try to get close to us. We won't smoke these cigarettes, so don't even think about going in, the soldier said with a straight face, but he added in his heart, "How dare you bribe me with cigarettes that cost a few cents each?" Yang Qing quickly put the 2 cigarettes back into his trouser pocket. He scratched his head and wanted to say something, but he saw that the 2 soldiers had impatiently put their hands on their rifles. "Are you done? If you continue to mess around like this, we have the right to shoot you as a spy," the square-faced soldier threatened. Yang Qing looked depressed. "Do I really have to force my way in? Take down this group of people? I can't come here for nothing, right?" At this moment, 2 black Audi A6s and an A8 sedan slowly stopped at the gate of the compound. Yang Chen turned around and saw 7 or 8 men dressed in bodyguard-style suit. They very cautiously got down from the 2 A6s and surrounded the A8 on all 4 sides. Then, a tall and straight young man got down from the passenger seat and opened the rear door. A middle-aged man dressed in a gray jacket walked down from the car. Yang Qing was stunned. He didn't expect that Premier Ning Guangyao and his son Ning Guodong, whom he had just met 2 days ago, would also come here. As soon as Ning Guangyao got off the car, he also saw Yang Qing. He frowned slightly and seemed to have figured out who Yang Qing was. Then he showed a gentle smile and walked to Yang Qing under the protection of the bodyguards. he asked. Are you from Yulei International? Yang Qing didn't expect Ning Guangyao to still remember him. It seemed that he cared about Yulei a lot. That day, Ning Guangyao and his son looked at Lin Ruoxi with enthusiasm. It was still fresh in his memory. Premier has a good memory, Yang Qing said casually. Ning Guodong didn't have much of an impression of Yang Qing. But when he heard that he was from Yulei International, Ning Guodong immediately thought of that beautiful figure. He asked Yang Qing, "Are you here alone? Or is your General Lin here too?" Ning Guodong didn't care why Yang Qing came. He first thought of asking if Lin Ruoxi was here. Yang Qing was secretly unhappy, but he couldn't castrate him in front of everyone. He just said perfunctorily, "What does my coming here have to do with our General Lin? Then why are you here?" Ning Guodong finally realized that he asked the wrong question. Even if it was Lin Ruoxi, she shouldn't have come to the outside of the military compound. Yang Qing sighed. "I want to go in to look for someone, but they won't let me in." Ning Guangyao looked at his son with a complicated expression. He sighed and said, "Who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for Commander Yang Pejuan. To be exact, I'm looking for his wife," Yang Qing said. Ning Guangyao was a little surprised. "You know Commander Yang? Why are you looking for his wife?" "Anyway, it has something to do with my personal matters. Premier, why don't you do me a favor and ask them to let me in?" Yang Qing said with a smile. Ning Guodong saw that Yang Qing wasn't nervous at all in front of his father and him. He even had a cheeky look on his face. Ning Guodong felt very uncomfortable and snorted. "Why should I bring someone with a glib tongue like you in? Do you deserve to enter such a place? Who do you think you are?" "Guodong!" Ning Guangyao immediately stopped Ning Guodong's words and reprimanded. "Who taught you to speak so rudely?" Yang Qing's eyes were a little cold. If it wasn't for Ning Guangyao stopping him in time, Yang Qing felt that he would have gone up and slapped Ning Guodong. Ning Guodong also realized that he was too aggressive. Normally, he wouldn't act like this, but Yang Qing in front of him was different from others. Normally, anyone who spoke to him, even if it was a minister, would have to be humble and flatter him. It was not only because Premier Ning Guangyao was his biological father, but also because in Yanjing, the Ning family was one of the strongest families in terms of overall strength. The number of families that were comparable to the Ning family could be counted on one hand. Therefore, Ning Guodong, who was used to being superior to others since he was young, felt very unbalanced when he met Yang Qing, who didn't care about his identity and status. After Ning Guangyao finished lecturing his son, he looked at Yang Qing playfully and said, "You're quite interesting, young man. I was in a good mood when I saw you today, so I'll help you. Let's see what you're going to do inside." "Dad," Ning Guodong wanted to object, but he immediately shut up when Ning Guangyao glared at him. He only glared at Yang Qing with resentment. Yang Chen, on the other hand, completely ignored the gigolo. Smiling, he said to Ning Guangyao, "Thank you, Premier." When they walked to the door, one of Ning Guangyao's bodyguards took out a pass. It was a certificate with the national emblem printed on it, and showed it to the two soldiers. The two soldiers had actually recognized Premier Ning Guangyao long ago, but they still went through the routine inspection. They then saluted and shouted, "Hello, Premier." Ning Guangyao also greeted them with a smile and said, "I know this young man. I'll bring him in." The two soldiers looked at Yang Qing, who was like a villain intoxicated by success, and despised him in their hearts. However, it was not good for them to refute Ning Guangyao, so they could only agree. After entering the courtyard, Yang Qing realized that the entire building complex was really full of twists and turns, like a huge maze. If it wasn't for someone leading the way, Yang Qing estimated that it would take him at least half an hour to find the person he wanted to see. Under the guidance of a soldier, Yang Qing followed Ning Guangyao and the rest to Yang Pejuan's office. At this time, Yang Qing thought of something and asked Ning Guangyao, "Premier, you're not here for an inspection, are you?" Ning Guangyao laughed. "This is a private meeting, not a public office. In fact, I have been friends with Commander Yang and his wife for many years. You can see your husband, but your wife may not be able to see him, Yang Qing muttered. Ning Guangyao didn't hear what Yang Qing said clearly, but he didn't ask because from a dark green wooden door in front of them, Yang Pejuan, who was wearing a beige vest, came out to greet them personally. Chapter 373. Premier Ning, I'm really flattered by your sudden visit, haha. Yang Pejuan laughed heartily and extended his hand towards Ning Guangyao from afar. Yang Qing stood beside Ning Guangyao, but he didn't seem to have been seen at all. Ning Guangyao had a happy expression on his face. Yang Pejuan, how many times have I told you not to call me that in a private meeting? Do you think I don't know that your words are fake? Hee, old Ning, you understand me. However, in front of so many soldiers, I have to give you some face, right? Yang Pejuan said. Ning Guangyao ignored his courtesy. Although he was half a head shorter, he still casually put his hand on Yang Pejuan's shoulder and said with emotion, the last time we met was during the National People's Congress. A few months have passed so quickly. We two old friends, it can be said that we don't have much time to meet. I'm very free every day. As a soldier, as long as I don't fight, I won't be too busy. Unlike you, you give speeches here and there every day, and you even have to go and express your condolences. You don't have the time to see each other. Yang Pejuan said with a smile. Aren't you going to run for the Politburo Standing Committee? With your qualifications, being elected as a national leader is a sure thing. At that time, you might even be busier than me. Haha. Then I'll take your words. The two middle-aged men stood in the aisle, one after another, talking to each other. Ning Guodong and a group of bodyguards stood behind Ning Guangyao. They didn't dare to make a sound when the two big shots were talking. Yang Qing knew that Yang Pejuan was pretending not to know him, but he wasn't angry. After all, there was no need to make things difficult for him, and he didn't come here for him. However, he did not expect that Ning Guangyao and Yang Pejuan would have such a close relationship. In terms of age, Ning Guangyao should be a few years older than Yang Pejuan, but there was not much difference. After all, in that era there was not a clear division of generations. After the two old friends chatted for 5 to 6 minutes, Ning Guangyao pointed at Yang Qing and said, This young man said he came to see you and Shuahua. Do you know each other? Oh right, where's Shuahua? Yang Pejuan could no longer avoid Yang Qing, who was standing next to him. The smile on his face gradually faded and he said lightly, It's a long story. Old Ning, you and my nephew should go in with my bodyguards and have a cup of hot tea. Shuahua isn't feeling well, so she couldn't come to see you today. Not feeling well? Being locked up like a prisoner and grounded by you, of course I can't be comfortable. Yang Qing sneered. Yang Pejuan's face darkened. What nonsense are you talking about? Grounded? Ning Guangyao was shocked. What do you mean? Yang Pejuan, you grounded Shuahua? Yang Pejuan took a deep breath and tried to suppress his anger. It's a private matter between us. Old Ning, you don't have to worry about it. How can I not worry about it? You, Shuahua, and I have been friends for decades. Do you think I don't know your temperament? Shuahua has always been gentle and would never take the initiative to provoke anyone. She has always been obedient to you. Why would you lock her up for no reason? Ning Guangyao frowned, full of puzzlement. Yang Pejuan's face became more and more ugly. A trace of anger flashed in his eyes, but he did not explode. He only said, It's very complicated. Old Ning, you don't have to worry about it. I will settle it with this young man. After saying that, Yang Pejuan looked coldly at Yang Qing and said, You come with me. Of course, Yang Qing wasn't afraid of him. He wouldn't allow himself to be manipulated by him. Standing still, he said, I don't have anything to hide from you. If you have something to say, say it now. If you don't have anything to say, I'll look for it myself. Do you know who you are talking to? Yang Pejuan said in a deep voice. Who I am talking to depends on your attitude. Yang Qing said without the slightest concession. Do you think I'll let you wander around my camp as you please? Yang Pejuan's eyes were about to spit out fire. Do you think I don't dare to lock you up in front of Premier Ning? You can try. Yang Qing sneered. Ning Guangyao saw the two of them were at daggers drawn. He was full of doubt and hurriedly tried to dissuade them. What are you two doing? Pejuan, tell me clearly, what exactly happened? What relationship does this young man have with you? Yang Pejuan did not say anything. He just looked at Yang Qing with a fierce expression. After all, he was a commander. His hands were also stained with the blood of countless enemies. At this moment, when he was angry, his whole body rose up with a fierce aura. It made the few bodyguards beside Ning Guangyao tense up. Yang Qing looked at Yang Pejuan without fear. The man in front of him seemed to be more unwilling to see him than he had imagined. Yang Qing also did not know why he had such a feeling of rejection. Obviously, he locked up Guoshuahua because of this feeling. Just when Yang Qing was too lazy to talk nonsense with Yang Pejuan and planned to look for Guoshuahua himself, he heard a surprised female voice coming from the other end of the corridor. Yang Qing? Yang Qing turned his head and saw Guoshuahua. Her hair was a little messy and her face was extremely haggard. She was standing there with tears in her eyes. She was looking at him emotionally. He didn't know how she had lived for more than a day. Compared to when he saw her before, this woman seemed to have aged a few years. Her face was gloomy, her eyes were a little sunken, and her lips were a little pale. At this moment, standing in the cold wind, she was like a withered leaf in late autumn that would fall at any time. Not only Yang Qing, but Yang Pejuan, Ning Guangyao, and others also had different expressions when they saw Guoshuahua like this. Ning Guangyao, in particular, looked as if he had seen something extremely horrifying. Then, anger rose in his eyes, and he stared at Yang Pejuan fiercely. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied that Yang Pejuan had tortured Guoshuahua to such a state. However, Guoshuahua didn't have the mood to pay attention to her own situation. She didn't care that her hair was still messy and fluttered in front of her forehead. She ran with all her strength towards Yang Qing. Yang Qing only frowned for a moment, but in the end, he still let Guoshuahua hug his waist, and their whole body was tightly pressed together. Guoshuahua cried tears of joy. She hugged Yang Qing tightly, and her head leaned on Yang Qing's chest. She kept shouting, "Child, child, my child, mother finally found you." Although her words were very vague, the few people beside them heard it clearly. Yang Pejuan's face was ashen, and he didn't say a word. Ning Guangyao and Ning Guodong, father and son, were shocked at first, and then looked at Yang Pejuan and Yang Qing in disbelief. Guoshuahua's child? Then, these two are father and son? Although they didn't understand what was going on, and why did the Yang family suddenly have another son, it was obvious that the matter in front of them wasn't fake. Otherwise, why would Yang Pejuan hide this matter? Yang Qing didn't know what he was thinking at the moment. His mind was actually empty. He let the woman in his arms cry on his chest, let her hug him, and call him Yang Qing, son, child. Her voice was very hoarse and weak, but it was like a powerful hammer, fiercely pounding on his heart. Fiercely pounding on his heart. However, even if his heart was very painful, Yang Qing felt very warm, as if something was gradually melting. This is something that I have never felt before, Yang Qing thought in his heart. Guoshuahua's personal bodyguards, Little One and Little Li, also ran here. The two female soldiers' faces were red, and they were obviously ashamed of facing Yang Pejuan, and they couldn't lift their heads. Yang Pejuan glanced at the two women. Who allowed you to let Madame out? Little One and Little Li looked at each other, but they didn't dare to speak. It was me. An old voice came from the arched door, and a somewhat melancholy Yang Gongming, together with the old woman, appeared in front of everyone again. Yang Gong? Ning Guangyao was in awe and bowed from afar. Even Ning Guodong immediately saw the person who came. Even his father had to pay respect to a senior, so he naturally had to bow as well. The anger in Yang Pejuan's eyes instantly extinguished, and he cried out involuntarily, "Father? I was the one who let Xuehua out, and I was also the one who told her that Yang Qing was here to look for her." Yang Gongming sighed and walked in front of them. He looked at the dumbfounded Yang Pejuan, who seemed to be in disbelief, and said, "Pejuan, you have gone too far this time. Xuehua wants to see her biological son. How can you treat her like this?" "Father, Yang Pejuan wanted to explain, but he knew that this wasn't the time. He sighed and looked at Ning Guangyao, who was so shocked that he couldn't speak, and Yang Pejuan's eyes were filled with worry. Obviously, this matter was heard by Ning Guangyao and the others, and he felt terrible. At this time, Guoshuahua was almost done crying. Although Yang Qing didn't say a word, and only stood quietly for her to cry, Guoshuahua smiled happily. She couldn't help but caress Yang Qing's cheeks, and looked at Yang Qing's indifferent and expressionless face, as if she was infatuated. "Yang Qing, thank you for coming to look for me. I'm really happy that you're willing to see me. Even if I die now, I won't have any regrets." "Why are you talking about dying? Is this something you should say in front of an old person like me?" Yang Gongming scolded with a smile, and turned to Ning Guangyao and said, "Premier Ning, this old man is dealing with family matters. I wonder if you and your son can leave for a while?" Although Ning Guangyao wanted to know what was going on, he didn't dare to ignore Yang Gongming's request. "Okay, Eunuch Yang, then I'll bring them to defeating armies' office first." After Ning Guangyao left with his people, the empty corridor finally became completely quiet, and only a few of Yang Pejuan's bodyguards were left, watching everything with a solemn expression. Yang Gongming looked at his son, who was full of worry, and then looked at Yang Qing, who was expressionless, and said, "Yang Qing, bring your mother to where you live." Yang Pejuan suddenly opened his eyes, and Guoshuahua also turned to look at her father-in-law in shock. Yang Qing's eyes flashed with surprise. "Father, how can you let Xuehua go with this kid?" Yang Pejuan questioned. "Are you going to continue to lock Xuehua up like a prisoner?" Yang Gongming said unhappily, "Moreover, Xuehua definitely wants to see Yang Qing more." Guoshuahua looked at Yang Pejuan with disappointment and coldness in her eyes, and then looked at the hesitant Yang Qing, and nodded softly. "As long as Yang Qing is willing, of course I'm willing. If Yang Qing doesn't want, I'll follow you back to Yanjing." "Why go back to Yanjing? You're so weak, you should rest well here in Jiangnan. The mansion in Yanjing doesn't lack a daughter-in-law like you. I still want to look around here for a few days." Yang Gongming said to Yang Qing, "Yang Qing, don't be so wishy-washy. Since you've made your choice, don't be wishy-washy. She's not someone else, she's your mother. She's your mother, who was so distressed just to see you." Yang Qing's body trembled. Looking at Guoshuahua's gloomy and weak but happy smile in front of him, he sighed and nodded. "I know, I can bring her back. Anyway, there's everything in the room." "No!" Yang Pejuan suddenly shouted with his eyebrows raised. He finally couldn't suppress his anger and shouted, "Father! Even if it's your decision, this time I have to go against it. I can tolerate them recognizing each other, and I can also tolerate you letting Xuehua go back to Yanjing. But I can't tolerate letting Xuehua live with this kid. What is this? Am I, the husband, going to die? Or am I inferior to this kid who has nothing to do with the Yang family for more than 20 years? Letting him go back to the Yang family is already a great sacrifice. Until now, he's always contradicting me. Why should I still accommodate him?" "Pejuan, say no more. Father, I've made up my mind." Yang Pejuan's eyes showed a touch of determination. Suddenly, he pulled out a Type 54 pistol from the waist of one of his bodyguards and aimed straight at Yang Qing's heart. "Today, if you dare to take my woman away, I don't care if you have my blood flowing in your body. I'd rather treat you as a spy who trespassed into the army camp and kill you,